All right, good morning, everyone. The meeting of the Louisiana DD Council come together is January 20th at 8:30 a.m. If you will, for those who are not, please turn your cameras on. Just want to say Happy New Year to those I haven't spoken to. And we're getting ready to get started for another year. That way we can make the best decisions involving the DD Council. So with that being said, Ms. DeVille, do we have a quorum?
If all council members could turn their cameras on. And then Hannah, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Banks?
Present.
Dr. Baravecchio? Ms. Bazil?
Present.
Ms. Bayham?
Present.
Ms. Kosei? I believe she was here. Ms. Kosei, can you hear us?
I don't know if she's muted or not.
She's here. Looks like she's trying to talk, but we can't hear her.
Good morning.
Oh, there she is. Good
Yeah.
morning, Ms. Kosei. Ms. Crane? Mr. Davis?
Present.
Ms. Eagle? Ms. Gonzalez? Ms. Guidry?
Present.
Ms. Hagan?
Here.
Ms. Harmon?
Present.
Ms. Hayno?
Present.
Ms. Hogan? Ms. Heimel?
Here.
Mr. Iddens? Dr. McKee?
Present.
Ms. Polizzola? Mr. Rocca?
Here.
Mr. Rivera? Ms. Tarver? Ms. Webb?
Here.
Ms. White? Dr. Wilson? I see Mr. Rivera and Mr. Bristow.
Here.
And Dr. Baravecchio is also here.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hannah, we do have a quorum. So at this time, Ms. DeVille, if you will, please put the mission statement up.
The mission statement for the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council is to increase independence, self-determination, productivity, integration, and inclusion for Louisianians with developmental disabilities by engaging in advocacy, capacity building, and systems change.
Thank you. Also, just go over some ground rules and some protocols. This is live Zoom on YouTube, so make sure that you're aware that the public is present. Be considerate of those who are speaking. Make sure that you raise your hand first and wait till you're acknowledged by the chair. Once you're acknowledged by the chair, you have 3 minutes to talk on the topic in which we're talking about. Not only that, make sure that you have your camera on at all times. That way we can make sure that we continue to have a quorum in case something comes up where we need to have a vote. Make sure that your microphones remain muted. Again, electronically raise your hand. For the guests, they may electronically raise their hand or request a comment. Upon being recognized to speak by the chair, unmute your microphone, but once you've spoken, ask that you mute your microphone again. This is a public meeting and we will not entertain a person's character. The comments continue after being asked to stop by the chair. Council staff will be instructed to end the meeting. So we want to make sure that we continue to stay focused, and the council will seek guidance to determine if legal action is appropriate to redact or to share the video. One thing I do want to add with this council meeting and all of the council meetings moving forward, if we're in a discussion about a topic and if you've discussed the topic at least twice, at that point, it's going to be taken offline because we want to make sure that we're remaining considerate of other people's time, and there are other agendas that we have to make sure that we can get to. So if you talked on the topic twice and is recognized by the chair, it's going to be considered as overkill. So it'll be taken offline so we can finish the discussion in another time frame. But we'll make sure that that discussion is followed up within 10 administrative days, business days, so we can get to the concern of those that anyone may have, or about a topic that seemed like we left hanging in the midst of the meeting. After that, next item of business is the approval of the meeting summary. Draft of the 21st meeting summary was distributed. The summary will not be read unless requested by a member. Are there any corrections to the summary?
Can I request to be read?
Okay. Mr. Davis, you're requesting that the meeting summary be read?
Correct.
Mr. DeVille, do you have that available?
Who was the question directed to, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry. I do have it available. It is a 3-page document. I can share my screen and we can view it. Logan, I can also email it to you right now if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
337-366-3986.
Yes. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Can everyone see the summary on my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I can.
thank you.
But you see, I did not get both of them at all in my packet. At all.
Okay. So since it's been requested by Council Member Logan Davis that the meeting summary be read, I'll go ahead and proceed. If you will, Ms. DeVille, just scroll up for me when I get to that point. So for the meeting, Chairperson Rashad Bishop called the meeting to order at 8:35 a.m. The July 2021 meeting summary was approved by unanimous consent. Chairperson's report passed motion by Mitchell Linden, seconded by Kim Bazile to accept the Executive Committee's proposed legislative agenda of cameras in education classrooms and data and accountability of cameras in special education classrooms, addressing the language in Act 456 of the 2021 session. Appendix K exceptions, particularly family as paid caregiver, funding of comprehensive dental or adults with IDD, support of LAPIE's legislation to fund post-secondary programs. 4 abstentions was Dr. Bevecchio, Brenda Kosei, Julie Foster Hagan, Bami Polozola. The motion passed by majority vote. Passed and amended. Amended motion by Matthew Rivera, seconded by Michael Billings. Motion to distribute the funds equally to the 9 family centers. 7 abstentions were Dr. Bevecchio, Kim Bazile, Melissa Baham, Lillian DeJean, Jill Hano, Rosalind Heimel, Stephen Wynn. Motion passed by majority vote. Passed. Motion by Michael Billings, second by Nicole Banks to accept the Executive Committee's recommendation of the 6 listed membership applicants to be sent to the governor for appointment. 1 abstention was Brenda Kosei. Motion passed by majority vote. New council members to be recommended for appointment by Governor Edwards. New council member recommendations were Logan Davis, Cheney Guidry, Vivian Webb, Kimona Hogan, Christy Gonzalez, Angela Harmon. Standing council member reports. Governor's Office of Disability Affairs, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, Department of Education, Office of Aging and Adult Services, Office for Citizens with Developmental Disabilities, Office of Public Health, Governor's Office of Elderly Affairs, Bureau of Health Services Financing, Medicaid, LSUH Health Sciences Center, Human Development Center, Disability Rights, Louisiana. By unanimous consent, the DD Council summer quarterly meeting adjourned at 4:03 p.m. So we've just read the meeting minutes for the October 21 meeting summary to the pleasure and request of Council Member Logan Davis.
Thank you for reading that, Rashad. And I was just viewing the packet that was mailed to me, and I cannot find that meeting summary or meeting minutes.
Not a
So
problem.
that's the reason why I asked for that reading.
Not a problem. Not a problem, Mr. Davis. Are there any corrections to the summary that's just been read? Do we have any comments in the chat box? If there's no objection, the summary is approved as distributed.
Jill Hano has her hand raised, Rashad.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hano, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
And thank you, Hannah and Brendan. I was about to inform our public and our new council members that we no longer provide the meeting summaries in the physical packet, the hard copy packet that is sent to us, but everything is online and I print everything. I print it out every month if that helps anyone.
Thank you for that, Ms. Hano. And do we have any other comments? I also see in the chat, it was voted a few years back that the summary not be printed in packs to save paper to be economical, and that was a vote. Okay, same thing. Does anyone else have any comments? Are there any objections to the summary being approved?
I make the motion to approve the summary as read aloud.
Okay. All right. Seeing that there are none in the chat, there are no corrections.
I second.
All right.
Oh,
It's been moved
shoot,
in
be-
second. I'm sorry.
Somebody already seconded for before I did. I was going to second it, so that's all right.
Okay, it's been moved by Logan Davis. It's been seconded by Vice Chair Banks that the meeting minutes be moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. No opposition. Report remains. 1 second. Okay, the next item of business is my report. As a chairperson report, I apologize. I was supposed to get it to the executive director. Didn't get that to her within the time frame that it was supposed to be received. I did, as a chair, have opportunity to attend a focus group in DeSoto Parish on behalf of the DD Council with the Special Education Department. It was an opportunity for us to be able to talk about some of the things that were taking place in that particular school system. And there was a lot of public outcry about lack of communication between the educational system and the parents themselves. That was one of the things that had taken place in the focus group. The other thing was I got an opportunity to talk to my state representative to let him know, Kenny Cox, that I am chair and I live in his district, and he made himself available where if there was anything that he can do to give assistance to any of the legislative agendas or anything that we have on the prospects of trying to move forward with any kind of legal action for the betterment of the DD community. He said he'd be in support of us. So I'm definitely wanting to hold him to that. And we'll schedule up a follow-up meeting between me and executive director so we can make sure that he becomes a part of our network of support for the DD Council. Are there any questions about what I've just discussed and presented? Again, I apologize. I did not put it in a tangible form so it could be up on the screen.
Rashad or Mr. Chair, my hand is raised. Could you please repeat what you stated the lack of communication was between? I missed it.
The lack of communication for the DeSoto School Board was between the parents and the education system. One of the gaps of the things that they were talking about was the parents did not feel like the school was always being as supportive for their children for the services that they were wanting to provide for them. So that was one of the things that was presented to them. Basically, one of the things that was emphasized was when a parent had a concern for a child for whether it was for special accommodations, to be more specific, it seemed like they were always put off and it was dragged out until either that academic school year had passed or that student was no longer going to be a student at that school. And it was becoming very visible. So that was one of the main things that was articulated during that focus group.
And was there any answers given after the focus group? Because I think there is doesn't Disability Rights of Louisiana handle the accommodations and the disability services and the education system?
Yes, they do, but they had an opportunity. They're supposed to have a follow-up conversation. It hasn't taken place yet. We've got it scheduled for February the 15th to have a conversation with the school board because DeSoto Parish still wanted to kind of handle it internally because they didn't have anything of legal concern as of yet. They were just stressing that they were starting to see a trend and a pattern of dismissal and extension until, again, either that child or that student was either academic year had expired or they passed on to another school district or grade or whatever the case may be. All right, thank you for that. Ms. Hayno, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Can you tell us what region you're in, please?
I'm in Region 7. I'm in Northwest Louisiana, Region 7.
Is that Shreveport?
Yes, ma'am. That's the
Okay.
Shreveport.
I thank you so much.
You're welcome. Do we have any other hands or any inquiries on behalf of my report? Do we have any questions in the chat box?
Kathleen Canino said they try, however, there are so many cases they cannot cover all of the cases. And Mr. Logan Davis said, Ms. Hayno, I'm also located in Region 7.
Thank you for that. So, no other questions, no other comments? Also, I want to take this time to welcome all the new board members, council members to the DD Council. We're very appreciative of your desire to be a council member, and we're looking forward to working with you. I didn't forget about it at the beginning. I was kind of waiting to put it at the end of my report. So now we're up to executive committee recommendations. Is there a recommendation in regarding the adoption?
There were no votes at yesterday's meeting.
That's right. Just a very good discussion. Okay. So with that being said, we'll move forward to the Executive Director's report. The next item of business is Executive Director's report. The chair recognizes Ms. Amy DeVille for her report.
Thank you, Chair. Here's my report. Over the last quarter, we, Ebony and I, continued to attend the Walking the Walk, Prioritizing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in Organizational Culture and Programming to Support People of Color with Disabilities. It was a peer e-learning opportunity that was 10 sessions long, and it ended towards the end of December. So we were able to make it through the entire course. And we got a lot out of it. We were very happy with our experience. So we also attended the OCDD COVID-19 waiver exceptions focus groups. I'm not going to talk a ton about those other than to say we participated in all of them, because I know that Julie's going to talk about them when her report comes up later this afternoon. I was also in the HCR 45 work group. We just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago with our report, which is going to be submitted or probably has already been submitted to legislators this month. And this was the work group that was focused on House Concurrent Resolution 45, which passed in the 21 regular legislative session, that talked about studying the feasibility of implementing some sort of a system for tracking the location of children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So the work was done and the report has been compiled and passed on. Ebony attended the OCDD 16-hour rule focus group, which again, that's one of those COVID waiver exception groups that Julie's going to talk about later today. Brenton attended the meeting with Brenton and I both had a meeting with a parent advocate regarding cameras in the classroom. The parent advocate is from Maryland, and they were interested in trying to get some legislation passed in their state as well. And so we had a conversation with her about our legislation and how we've gotten to where we are and where we hope to go. He also attended the post-COVID-19 waiver exceptions general stakeholder forum, OCDD State Advisory Committee. We all attended the Louisiana Post-Secondary Inclusive Education Alliance meeting where we talked about the legislation. He had a meeting with Act 378 Subcommittee Chair Bambi Polizzola and the Executive Director of the Jefferson Parish Human Services Authority. And he also attended the GACTA Legislative Committee. And then if you scroll all the way down, it's the extremely long list of all of the meetings that I attended with that 3-month period. So I won't go through each one. It is posted on the website for you to view. Are there any questions about any of that? Okay, if not, I'll move on to the budget report, Chair, if that's okay.
Yes, well, we don't have any questions and no public comment.
I see Roslyn has her hand raised.
Roslyn, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Yeah. I only had one question, and I'm going to make it kind of quick. For me, for what I'm seeing, on the second page in that, I was reviewing it, is all it is is this all of it you had seen, or you said you attended to it for all of this of what, 2021 totally? That
No,
you-
this report covers from October 1st through the end of December of 2021.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So is it, you gonna do a new one for this year?
Yes, so at the April committee meetings, I will have an updated report, excuse me, that will go from January through March of 22.
Oh, okay. Thanks. That's the only thing I had. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
Any other questions from any council members, any public comment in regard to the executive director's report? Hearing none, then that report requires no action and we placed on file. Mr. Ville, please proceed with the budget report.
I'm sorry, Chair, I see that Jill Hano just raised her hand.
Okay, thank you, because I don't see anyone else except for the one speaking. Ms. Hano, you're recognized by the chair.
I'm sorry, I thought I had my hand raised, but I did not. Oh my. I missed what you said, Amy. Did you submit the work group of report or are you going to submit the work group report?
The HCR 45 work group?
Correct.
Yes, so one of the staff people with OCDD, Dr. Amy Greer, was
Okay.
heading it up, and she was getting that report submitted in January.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
Ms. DeVille, you have the floor.
All right. This is the budget report. Let me try to move something. Let's see. Okay. This is our budget report that really goes through everything from the start of this fiscal year through the end of December. As you can see, our budget is in good shape. If you look at percentages expended, you would expect that for most areas, we're going to be somewhere around 50% because we're right around halfway through our fiscal year with the state. And for most places, we are around 50%. The one area where we're at 95% expended, which is dues and subscriptions, that's because the only thing that comes out of that is our yearly dues to the National Association for the Councils on Developmental Disabilities. And so that's a one-time fee. It's been paid out. There probably won't be anything else coming out of that line item this year. Mr. Chair, I see that Logan Davis has his hand raised.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Just for my notes, because I see that for the SFY 2022 budget, the council meetings, state in-state travel, council members in-state travel, staff out-of-state travel, council member out-of-state travel. What does the SFY 2022 cover? Like, are there time frames? Because to my knowledge, we're not having in-person council meetings. And yeah, that was just wondering what does SFY 2022 budget cover? Like, what are the two dates?
Sure. So the state fiscal year starts July 1st. It started July 1st of 2021, and it's going to run through the end of June 2022.
All right, can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Yep, it started July 1st of 2021, and it will run through the end of June 2022.
end of June?
Yes.
Okay, and are
Then just to kind of answer what I think your other part of the question was, which is there was money budgeted in those line items for travel because typically there is in normal years, non-COVID years, there is travel. And so we continued to budget that way because we still don't know when the public health emergency will end and when travel will resume. So we want to make sure that we have money there available in case it opens up sometime within this fiscal year.
so it's just sitting in a pool
For now.
and nothing is, you don't dip into that pool until the public health crisis is over with, correct?
Yes. The only time I would dip into that pool is if I'm running low in some other line item and I see we're not going to spend all of this money. And so I might move some money around at some point if I need
Okay.
to, but
Okay,
we're not in that position right now.
perfect. That's great to hear.
Okay.
And is everything else on this budget report, is it available online as well? So I can go into more depth, go into it more. I don't know if I used that word correctly, but
The budget report, as you see it displayed on the screen, this is available on the website. If you have other specific questions after you've looked at it some more, just email me and I'll answer them.
perfect. I don't want to take any more time away from this. And I see Miss Jill Hano has her hand raised as well. And I turn my time back over to the chair, Mr. Rashad. I don't know if I'm
Thank you,
supposed to say
Davis.
that.
Ms. Hano, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
I have been spending a lot of time. So, okay, Mitch, can we shrink it like just a hair smaller?
Like this or a little bit smaller?
Go down, cause, I'm trying to understand our contracts. Yes, perfect. I'm trying to understand how the budgets fit into the contracts. Like, so is this item line consistent every quarter, or how does that work? Like, and I don't really understand this, but do our contractors tend to ask for less money than we plan to allot them? And are they federal money? Yes, it's state funds, correct? Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Okay, let me try to explain as best I can, and then if you have questions, let me know. So this
Okay.
first number right here, this 1,682,130, right there.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the combination of our federal funds that are going towards contracts, but also the state general funds that go towards the Families Helping Families centers. So this is a combination of both in that one line item. Then the next three columns right here, these are expenditures. So this is just what was expended in the month of December, but this is first quarter and then second quarter expenditures.
Okay.
So
on contracts.
On contracts.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so does that answer all of your questions?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. You shed some light. So thank you.
Ms. Seville, were you through presenting? Did you complete or you in the middle of your presentation? And the questions?
I'm done.
You're done? Okay. Are there any other council members who have questions about the budget?
Thanks, Amy.
Is there any public comment in regards to the budget report? No comment?
No
Okay, well,
comments
this
or
report
hands
requires.
raised.
There are hands raised. Okay, thank you.
I
Who's
had put something in the chat because I was wondering why in third and the fourth quarter, I kind of read it, but I put it in it. I put my question in the chat, and why is there in the third and the fourth quarter they have zeros straight down the column? That's what I don't get.
Because we haven't gotten to the third and fourth quarter yet of our state fiscal year.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure on it in that, but that's I was trying to get to. Thank you.
No problem. I don't have a visible, do we have any more hands raised?
No hands raised or comments.
Okay, well, this report requires no action and will be placed on file. We're actually moving way ahead of schedule. We're supposed to be up to recess. If there's no objection by the council, I'd like to go ahead and proceed into the committee reports.
I second that motion.
Okay, so now we'll move into our standing committee reports. Act 378 Subcommittee, Ms. Bambi Polazola.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
The Act 378 Subcommittee met yesterday, and we do not have any recommendations for the council to consider. We did spend time reviewing the fiscal year 22 second quarter data for programs from the Office of Citizens with Developmental Disabilities and Behavioral Health and Aging and Adult Services through the ARC of Louisiana. And these reports can be found linked in our committee agenda on the council's meeting webpage if you would like to review. As a follow-up to our last meeting, we did look over the Human Service Districts and Authorities' responses to our inquiries regarding how much LGE, our local governing entity, determines their budget for consumer care resources and flexible family funds, and what happens to funding that goes unspent. Of the 10 LGEs, we received 7 responses, and some of the responses received appeared to be targeted towards developmental disability services and not behavioral health, which is what our focus was on. In general, it appears that LGEs base their budgets on need and the previous year's usage. Money left unspent remains in the state's general fund and not with the LGE to use in subsequent years. There are some exceptions that you will note in the document linked in our agenda. And just to follow up, we did receive one more report from one of the LGEs who didn't submit prior to our meeting. And also we received some information that there may be some confusion in the language. Previously, the Flexible Family Funds was known as the cash subsidy. And apparently from this source, that sometimes OBH calls their Flexible Family Funds cash subsidy. So that could have, I guess that's an internal thing. And so we use the appropriate language in our request, but there may have been some confusion in regards to that. So we got that, we received that information after our meeting yesterday. Tanya Murphy with OCDD also informed us she was able to meet with the developmental disabilities directors of each of our local government entities to discuss the committee's concerns for discrepancies in spending for the individual and family support funds across regions based on different services. This was a concern that the committee brought up a few times over the last year. Ms. Murphy talked to the LGEs and looked at every request and talked to the LGEs, and they stated that the LGEs look at every request in a person-centered way and make the decisions accordingly. Now, each region has unique needs, requests, and resources available for families, so it is difficult to compare one LGE to another. Specific to incontinence supplies, she noted that one LGE has an advocacy group that helps provide diapers to families in needs, while other LGEs do not have the same resource. She also noted that some LGEs were not coding specific services accurately, which may have skewed the original data the committee looked at. Ms. Murphy also stated that she does not believe that a discrepancy exists, but will continue to research committee concerns if specific areas of discrepancy are identified. And then lastly, OCDD also provided us update on their analysis to determine what impacts, if any, the passage of Act 73 of 2017 has had on the delivery of individual and family support and flexible family fund services. In general, it appears most LGEs were able to serve more individuals and expended more funds on DD services. Also, after the meeting, since the meeting, I received information from the ARC of Louisiana regarding a question in their report in regards to their numbers in regions 1 and regions 10. And one of those regions reported 0. And this is something that I didn't realize, and I think probably most people don't realize, is that the Office of Aging and Adult Services regions doesn't have 10 regions. They include region 10, which is just Jefferson Parish, in their region 1. So those numbers on that report is inclusive of region 1 and region 10. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Popozola. Are there any questions from council members on the report that's been presented?
I do not see any right now.
Thank you. Are there any public comment in regards to the report that's presented?
No public comment either.
Okay. Well, there's no public comment or no council member comments, then this report requires no action and will be placed on file. So now the next item of business is the report of the Educational Committee. The chairperson is Dr. Hassan McKee for this committee report. Dr. McKee, you have the floor.
Good morning and greetings, everyone. The Education and Employment Committee meeting convened on Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. We received an update from the Louisiana Department of Education, Ms. Meredith Jordan, who has not permanently been appointed to the council as the education representative from DOE. We had a report regarding the teacher recruitment, recovery, and retention task force that she will probably share more in her report today, but there are some current opportunities that they're working on. Paraeducator teacher opportunity to incentivize paraeducators to obtain bachelor's degree at no cost. Optional funding, schools can also request for add-on certifications, such as special education, mild moderate, English as a second language as an additional certification. And if there are any questions, she did provide us with an email, believe-and-prepare@la.gov. There's also going to be a Jumpstart Convention, and that happens every year. Currently, the Jumpstart Convention is sold out at this time. It is our understanding that it is an in-person convention, but I think the DOE is looking into seeing if there are some virtual options considering the public health crisis. And then there's also a teacher leader summit that happens annually that they are still asking if individuals are interested in attending to register for that. Also, we received a report regarding the Individuals with Disabilities Education and Improvement Act, which is IDEA, requiring each state to have in place a state performance plan. LDOE is currently setting targets for that state performance plan for the next 6-year cycle via the state performance plan report that's also linked to our agenda as well as LDOE's website. LDOE will engage stakeholders in this process by having a fillable PDF survey called the SPP APR Target Setting Survey, which should be live and going out shortly. The next special education advisory panel meeting is in February and planning for it to be in person. That will also be adjusted virtual if the governor's emergency order is extended. We had an in-depth conversation, well, lengthy conversation about cameras in the classroom, SBL 86 of the legislative session, Act 456, that requires the development of policies to install, operate, and maintain cameras in certain special education classrooms. There was some discussion about LDOE's oversight, and even if they have the ability to do so, it was discovered that LDOE, the way the bill has been written, does not have the authority to provide oversight or enforcement on school districts to follow through and adhere to this legislative act. As it stands right now, LDOE cannot even give authority to provide technical assistance to school systems as the way it's written. Also, there's no funding that's attached to this legislation. There was some discussion about that. As it stands right now, the only thing they could do is just encourage the school districts to seek out their own legal counsel to draft their own policies to align with the law. And again, LDOE does not have any oversight or ability as it relates to the way this bill has been written, this act has been written. Ms. Jordan shared her contact information if anyone needed, meredith.jordan@la.gov. We received an update from Louisiana Rehabilitation Services from Ms. Melissa Bayham, which I'm sure she's going to give a report to today. Customized employment training from LSU HDC. Vacant counselor positions are posted on civil service website. She was asking that if, to help spread that word, because they're really looking into filling more counselor positions. And I believe she said specifically targeting the need in the Shreveport area. And then they are currently working with the STEM Up. She was very excited about working with STEM Up with Southern University, assisting minority students with disabilities in STEM occupations. We discussed the update on our contractual activities for our fiscal year 22 action plan. Ms. Davika Rayo discussed what they're doing as it relates to our seminars on hiring individuals with developmental disabilities. She had a plan of action where they are trying to work out building webinars from a curriculum approach with having one topic per webinar, and to go into more of a deeper dive with subject matter experts. So like finding people that really, really know about that particular area and getting them involved. She will be submitting a calendar with all of the plan of activities, inclusive of big businesses and small businesses as well getting involved. She's hoping to get this webinar off the ground by March, which is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. We also received an update from Dr. Geraldine Beckers from Louisiana Post-Secondary Inclusive Education Alliance. McNeese is looking forward to starting LAPI program with the support of one of our former council members. Meeting in February with Northwestern State, Louisiana is coming up to help start the program there as well. They're still working on getting Grambling University connected with LAPI. Ms. Polozola shared that Senator Boudreaux will look into information regarding LaPie and is interested in carrying the bill, but it should not stop advocacy to continue to get other legislators involved. Dr. Becker's continued to work to send information to Alliance members that's consistent with what we're trying to do in that area. Ms. Kelly Monroe gave a report on customized employment training. The class is currently moving pretty slow, but there are 8 that are currently in the class and 4 have not identified as a learning partner, but they're continuing to work in that effort. They're planning for a refresher and a start in March with hopes to finish in the contract year. So we did have some more discussion about our action plan, and I believe Bill is going to put this up just for the council to consider. We discussed activity 3.1.8 and activity 3.2.5, as well as activity 3.2.6, asking for the council to allow us to do more research in areas to help support individuals with disabilities as they are moving to the stage of retirement and having more conversations about future planning and benefits planning and what that would look like. We do have a lot of conversations on K-12 and now post-secondary, but we have not had many conversations on how to better support individuals with disabilities as they move closer to the retirement age. And so we are asking that the council allow for us to do more research in that area and draft information so that it can go and be a part of the FY23 plan. And that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. McKee. Do we have any questions from the council members in regards to the Education Committee report?
Logan Davis has his hand raised.
Okay, Mr. Davis, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. McGee, thank you so much for your report. I did put in the chat box that I'm sorry, it's my nervous tick. I move that the different activities be read for the public, for those with visual, if there are any visual, if there are any blind individuals that cannot read the activities, I move that those activities be read.
Absolutely, I will read them if Mr. Chair would give me the floor.
You have the floor, Dr. McKee.
Yes, activity 3.1.8 is conduct outreach with appropriate entities on current services and training opportunities for traditional and special education teachers, including ongoing support, high quality ongoing teacher education, which may lead to capacity building efforts and to increase high quality educators. Activity 3.2.5, share the benefits planning services to a variety of agencies and stakeholders. And then activity 3.2.6, advocate for systems change based on emergent employment issues.
Thank you, Dr. McKee.
All right, what packet is that in? Can somebody fill me in on that, please?
And that will be located in our fiscal year 2022.
Right, so Roslyn, what's displayed on the screen right now is the 5-year plan for the council. And we're just looking at goal 3, some of the activities under goal 3.
All right, is that the last packet?
The 5-year plan probably isn't. I'm not sure if it was in a packet at all because that was ratified back in July, last July. So I don't know that a version of it has been sent out, a physical version of it has been sent out since.
It has,
Let me remind
But I'm
everyone,
lost.
the chair before commenting.
oh, I'm sorry, Chair. I withdraw my comment.
I'm lost in a shuffle. That's why I'm asking for help.
Ms. Heimer, has your question been satisfied? Okay, do we have any more hands raised?
No hands
Logan, thank
raised.
you.
No hands raised or comments in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jenkins. With no public comment or with no questions from council members, the Education Committee report will be, requires no action and we placed on file. So next item of business is the report of Self-Determination Community Inclusion Committee. The chair now recognizes Ms. Kim Bazile, her report.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. The Self-Determination and Community Inclusion Committee met yesterday and has one recommendation. The motion is the Self-Determination and Community Inclusion Committee recommends the Planning Ad Hoc Committee consider the following activities for inclusion in the fiscal year 23 action plan and offers this recommendation to the full council for consideration. Individuals need assistance navigating the tiered waiver system. Possibly contract with someone knowledgeable about all aspects of the tiered waiver system to help individuals in the community and those trying to transition out of intermediate care facilities or ICFs get the supports that best fit their needs. Those in ICFs or those with a SUN score of 4 should have an expedited way to receive waiver services given their level of need or creation of an emergency coordination team at the state level to help individuals navigate the waiver process. Addressing support coordination turnover, increase activities focused on youth advocacy and involvement, and contract to get youth leadership forum established. I'm sorry, I can't read this morning. We did receive a lot of great updates from the Office of Citizens with Developmental Disabilities, or OCDD, and Medicaid. A lot of the information shared is included in their agency report, and I'm sure they will touch on these topics later today. But I did want to let you know, we discussed OCDD's major initiatives for this fiscal year and plan to spend a little time at our April meeting providing feedback for next year's initiatives. So please join us in April if you would like to contribute to that conversation. We also received updates on contractual activities in goals 1 and 2 of the council's fiscal year 2020 action plan. I encourage you all to review the status update document that we receive quarterly for specific updates on each activity and any of the documents linked in our committee agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any council members questions on the report that was presented?
Jill Hano has her hand raised.
Ms. Hano, you're recognized by the chair.
Okay. This question actually Julie could probably answer, but these initiatives, I know you, Julie, was restructuring her report. Are the new initiatives that we discussed yesterday from OCDD, and you're gonna be what your court standing council member report is gonna relate to, because I've tried to read your report and I got dizzy.
Would you have the floor to respond to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, you got the floor.
Yeah, Jill, we did try this quarter to modify the report to make it easier. So sorry if it made you dizzy. So I guess we didn't accomplish what we were trying to do. We were trying to make it more related to those major activities and make the data a little bit easier for folks.
Okay.
But we can definitely take a look at that if it published that. That was part of what I wanted to talk about when I did my report out this afternoon, is discuss the changes and to get feedback if that was, easier for folks to read, or if there were any suggestions for us to do it differently. So maybe
I really was only trying to make you laugh. I promise. I just want to know, because once you talk about your report and I'm gonna spend the next 3 months familiarizing, but once I get the hang of it, I'm sure it's gonna be amazing, and I do look forward to the whole LDH restructure, but I really was only trying to make a joke. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And if you have ideas, Jill, you have my email. If you have ideas as you're trying to familiarize it for things that would make it easier, that's really what we're trying to do, is make it easier and not use some of the language that gets confusing for people, and make sure that we're using the correct language and structuring it in a way that's easier. So as you review it, if you have any suggestions, please email me those suggestions and we'll take those into consideration.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I kind of derailed the conversation.
No problem, Ms. Hayno. Mr. Edens, I see your hand on my screen. Give me just a minute. I want to double back to Ms. Bazile real quick.
Thank you,
I have a question before we digress. Ms. Bazile, I made a note. The committee was making a recommendation before the council for what? To take into consideration?
The motion is, and we did this globally so that the planning committee could fit it into the activities and the goals where they saw fit. So we recommend to the planning ad hoc committee, consider the following activities to help individuals that need assistance navigating the tiered waiver system. And this was something that was brought up by Matt Rivera and Crystal White, specifically when individuals were aging out of intermediate care facilities, and it's too confusing for them to figure out how to get the correct waiver that they need and how to navigate that entire system. So one of the possibilities is to contract with someone knowledgeable about all aspects of the tiered waiver system to kind of hold their hand and walk them through it. Also possibly come up with an expedited system to where anyone in an ICF or those with a SUN score of 4 could be expedited through the system and not have to go back to step 1. Another item was addressing the support coordination turnover, because we all know that the turnover is astronomical in the support coordination world. to increase the activities, this was Jill Hanno, increase activities focused on the youth advocacy and involvement, and to contract to get the Youth Leadership Forum, which I believe Lillian is heading up, established. So the last two were from Jill Hanno.
Okay, you answered my question. I just want to make sure I didn't dismiss anything that was requested to take any action today, but we'll make sure that goes to the planning committees first. Thank you for reemphasizing that for me.
Sure.
You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor, then we'll go to the comments in the chat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kim, this is a question for you. Can you give us an example, or if you guys have any discussion about some examples of support coordination turnover and what exactly that is and how it's affecting people? And my second comment is, I thought there was already an expedited way if someone scores a 4 or more on the Sun score that their, a waiver could be expedited for them if they were already in an institution trying to transition out. I thought that was already in place, that was something that the council's worked on to put in place years ago. To go along with the Sun score. So I guess my first question would be examples of the support coordination turnover and what that looks like for someone.
Okay, Matt, I see you're on the screen. So if you can help me out, I believe that we don't have anyone, since the turnover is so high, the support coordinators that are coming in are green, and they may not know the process as well as they should, and they may not be able to help our community navigate the system. Matt, am I saying that correctly?
Mr. Chair, am I recognized to speak?
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just to echo and build on what Kim was saying, and to attempt to answer your question, Mitch. Of course, I am a home and community-based service provider, and but it was also echoed by Crystal White as well, who I think is a family member of an individual with a developmental disability. It is our experience that individuals that are transitioning out of either an ICF group home or Pinecrest are quote unquote having to fight tooth and nail to navigate the system to get the services they need. In other words, it's our experience that they start on the tiered waiver and then have to justify to get additional services, which our experience is they're tapping out at the row. And building on the support coordination turnover, this is unintentionally, in my point of view, and I think it was in Crystal's point of view too, they're unintentionally not getting the supports they need to live independently in the community. And if I look at the mission of the DD Council, that this is what we're supposed to be doing, is ensuring that people have choices and can live independently. Again, it's unintentional, and providers, and rightfully so, we need to not be part of that process, but we are trying to help these individuals. But it would be great if they could turn to someone, sort of like a third party that has experience, because the experience is not there at the support coordination level because of the turnover, to help them navigate the system so they can live independently in an expedited manner. So I hope I paraphrase what the discussion was yesterday.
Thank you for that clarity.
Okay.
Rivera, do we have questions?
Well, I'll comment on that, Mr. Chairman. And you keep mentioning support coordination turnover. Who are the support coordinators? Are these professionals? Are these folks on the state level, on the federal level? Who are the support coordinators that are supposed to be working with these individuals as they choose to transition, or if they age out of a facility? Who are the support coordinators? Are you talking about family members, Matt? Who are you talking about? Who are the support coordinators?
And so, and I'm sure Julie could give the exact definition, but Mitch, each region has several support coordination agencies, and an individual that is assigned a developmental disability waiver gets assigned a support coordination agency, which they then assign an individual. And it's my understanding, I don't have the data, but from intuitively, there's a lot of turnover in that industry, as well as the DSW industry, by the way, too. And so therefore we've unintentionally lost a lot of expertise that's needed to help someone navigate the tiered waiver system. So I think when it was created, it was an excellent idea, and it reduced the reduced the waiting list to zero. But now, and again, this is my intuition, we've lost that expertise because of the turnover in that support coordination responsibility, and therefore unintentionally keeping people longer than they need to be in institutional care.
Is the support turnover something that's the support coordination turnover is something that recent? Is that something to do with the pandemic? Is that you're right. I mean, I see this all the time. You have someone that's in an institution that's wanting and desiring to transition out, and then there's always all that red tape that's involved to not only meet with that person, assess that person's needs, see what tiered service or waiver they might qualify, and then once you get to that point, begin to make that transition in the community to coordinate housing and to coordinate benefits and to coordinate a multitude of things that need to happen. You're right. There needs to be someone there. I mean, the Centers for Independent Living do that type of coordination when we're asked to be involved. But, there's still a lot of resistance sometimes when someone comes in and tries to assist people. There's still a lot of resistance. But anyway, I'm just wondering where this turnover is coming from and why it's happening.
This is Bambi. I think I have a response to that.
You're recognized by the chair. Ms. Polozo, you have the floor. You muted out.
Sorry about that. Bambi. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I've done extensive research into support coordination and looked at the requirements for our support coordination and also the revenue that they're able to bill to be able to supply for these services. The requirements for support coordination is really high. You have to have master's degree supervision and bachelor's degrees for all of our support coordinators. I'm okay with that, but then they're also limited to the number of cases they can have. Each support coordinator can have of their caseload. So then that is definitely a ceiling of the amount of revenue that one person can generate. And then that person has to be able to, you have to be able to pay that person's salary. You also have to be able to take a portion of that to pay the supervisors who can oversee 6 support coordinators who have to be a master level person. And I did the numbers, and that the support coordination agencies, I don't see them as the owners as some people just, counting their money, and paying people low wages. It's the way it's set up that they have to pay in order to stay without going into the red, to be able to stay in business, that they cannot pay those support coordination agency, support coordinators.
Then do it up. You owe me some money.
Ms. Eagley, excuse me, Ms. Polozola. Ms. Eagley, if you will mute your microphone, you're overfeeding over Ms. Polozola's presentation. Please proceed, Ms. Polozola.
I just want to make that point that their ability to be able to pay support coordinators who have bachelor's degrees is not enough to sustain those people in that employment, because those people have bachelor's degrees, they can go to other jobs, and that's why you see turnover. So I think it's a function of just the economics. And oftentimes I found historically the DD Council has looked at it from what we see when what we're delivered as consumers. But there's other things in play. It's not just that provider, whether it be support coordinator or provider of another service, that there's some other things that we need to look at and maybe advocate So then we can hold people accountable. When we pay people enough money to do a job, then we can get the quality that we want and hold them accountable to the quality that our people need. So thank you for allowing me to share that.
Thank you, Ms. Polozola. Ms. Edens, I see your hand. You're recognized by the floor.
Well, I'm having some comment that I
The chair,
agree, but I think that we just need to look at the qualifications for support coordination and maybe, consider, I don't think it takes, this is my personal opinion, I don't think it takes anybody with a master's degree in education to be able to provide support coordination. It takes, there are lots of people that can do that. It takes experience, it takes knowledge, it takes people that have been there and done that sometimes can do a much better job. So we just need to maybe take a look at the qualifications for that and make some recommendations there so that we can get more people that would be interested in doing this type of work and keep them employed. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Do we have any more hands raised from any council members? Do we have any questions or comments in the chat box?
We have someone in the public, Miss Kathy Dwyer has her hand raised, and we have a couple of comments in the chat.
Okay. Ms. Dwyer, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also put my comments in the chat for those that needed it. But my question was initially, what would prevent the new entity that's being discussed that supposedly will solve the problem of those transitioning and needing the expertise and the services from not having the same high turnover rate and cause the same problem? It seems we need to resolve the turnover problem for support coordinators instead of creating another entity. And as other people have mentioned, and I agree, that the problem is the low pay. It seems like the support coordinators come in and get the experience and then move on to higher paying jobs. We would keep those support coordinators, especially those who are experienced, if we resolve the turnover. And if that means higher pay, then let's work toward that so we keep the experience. We're not going to solve the problem just by creating another entity, because it seems like that other entity would have to pay the same level that the support coordinators are paying. If you're able to pay more for this new entity, you should be able to pay more for the support coordinators.
Thank you for that, Ms. Dwyer. Do we have any other comments in the chat?
Yes, we have Miss Melinda Elliott. She says, we don't have several support coordination agencies. We have one with lots of turnover. She also said the support coordinators are low paid, especially for all the responsibility they have. They get a little experience and go to a better job. Miss Kelly Monroe said they are poorly paid, just like the providers, with a sad face. And Miss Karanda Corley said, I sincerely agree with Miss Dwyer.
Sad but true. It seems like it's hard to maintain quality, passionate people, especially when there's other extenuating circumstances when it comes down to budgets. Do we have any other comments or questions in regard to the education? The DA report.
Miss Jill Eagley and Miss Karanda Corley both have their hands raised.
Okay. Ms. Eagley, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Why is there such a low turnout for DSPs and providers that don't want to support IDD? I don't understand this crisis.
I don't think it's so much that there's not an initiation of support. A lot of it boils down to what Ms. Polozola was saying. Some of it is about the academic credentials that are requested and the compensation that goes back with those credentials. And not only that, just like I believe it was Ms. Dwyer made the comment, once they get their feet in the door, then some people start just trying to move up the ladder of success.
Wow.
They pass on to other opportunities, and it just leaves a void because there's a connection that people make, and once you get someone in good place, next thing you know, that person has a transition to other employment which they consider to be more gainful than the position they were already in. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Rashad Bistro, because I appreciate that. And I don't get PCA support, but you know, the people that need it, you know, and there should not be a turnout. These people need a good life. And we always have to advocate for change.
Most definitely, and that's why we're here.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your, Ms. Karonda Corley, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you and to the entire DD Council this morning. I would like to piggyback off of what Ms. Dwyer stated. Yes, we are not receiving a lot of support coordinators. In fact, a lot of our support coordinators are additionally not receiving a lot of information to pass on to the families in which they actually serve. A lot of the companies that are actually providing services to our company, they're not doing a good job of actually disseminating information out stating that they are looking for employees. Also, maybe it would help if the companies that need support coordinators actually try to reach out to all of the universities throughout the state to try to hire some LCSWs, social workers to possibly take the job. But like Ms. Dwyer stated, they would need to increase the benefits and salary for those employees. But the agencies need to do a better job of disseminating information out to the families. What we have right now could actually work. It just has minor hiccups, but creating an entire new entity to try to work with our families would be extremely problematic. And it would cause us further problems where our families would continue to be more underserved and unserved as it is. And a lot of the problems is families in rural areas as well as inner cities just not receiving that information. So I think that we just need to provide a little more training and provide a much better salary and a much better packet for the individuals that currently work, as well as a lower ratio of cases per coordinator. That would actually help. Thank you.
I'd like to say something. I do not
Ms. Bisbee,
believe,
you're recognized by the chair. Go ahead.
I do not believe we stated to motion that we have a new company or new organization. We just wanted to address the support coordination turnover. So this is the discussion that we wanted, not to try to build a new organization from the ground up to address it.
Okay. Thank you for bringing the clarification for those interested parties. Do we have any other questions or comments in regard to the Self-Determination Community Inclusion Committee report?
Miss Julie Hagan and Miss Rosalind Heimel both have their hands raised.
Okay. Ms. Hagan, you're recognized by the chair. Then I'll recognize you, Ms. Hyman.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make one point of clarification and then provide one piece of information in regards to support coordination. So we do have multiple agencies across the state, but the support coordination agencies, similar to the provider agencies, have to enroll as a Medicaid provider, and they have to have a license in the region that they serve. And so some regions, we do have some regions that only have one agency in that region. We have other regions who may have 2, 3, or 4 agencies in that region. It just kind of depends on the particular region. So I just wanted to clarify that. And you may have one, for example, there's Easter Seals and there's MRG. These are companies that have offices in multiple regions. And then you have some who only, I believe Alpha Care may only be in the New Orleans region. So it kind of depends, but they are licensed and certified as Medicaid providers. And they have to have a license in each region. So I just wanted to clarify that information. And then also just wanted to share with the group, one of the activities that we've asked for CMS approval on with the additional American Rescue Plan Act dollars that we have is to give a 30% increase in the rate to support coordination agencies, because we do know that that's a challenge. We've yet to get approval for that, but I just wanted to share that that was something that the department had recognized and was attempting to address through that plan. That's all.
Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Hagan. Ms. Hamel, you have the floor.
Yeah. I wanted to really find out this because I was listening to what Jill E. I can't really say her last name in that, my best friend. And she really, expressed it for how she feels. And this is what I want to know, because I am agreeing with her in that on one topic that she hit, I wanted to, fill in, know on is LDD in that. Can somebody explain that, what that really is to me? Because I am a little off balance with it and everything. But yes, I am agreeing with Jill E on that, what she was expressing in her feelings on that.
Okay. Ms. Pozol, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair.
I had a follow-up question for Julie in regards to the request for support coordination increasing by 30%. Was that just for OCDD or was that for OAAS? And I know there's also a separate EPSDT. So what does that cover?
It covers OCDD and OAAS. There was a separate ask for EPSDT. And also, I forgot to mention with OCDD and OAAS, we had another, a separate activity for bonus payments for people who had worked through the pandemic and would continue working. That applied to the direct support worker agencies. It also applied to the support coordination agencies. So those who've worked through the pandemic and continue, there would be a bonus that would be available to them. But yes, it's OCDD and OAAS jointly with that increase in support coordination.
Thank you.
Okay. I see Mr. Matt Rivera, your hand is raised. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor. Then
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Julie, just a quick follow-up. Do you have any intuition when CMS may approve this request? Thank you.
The last I heard from Medicaid, Kelly may have more, was quote unquote any day now. And that's about all we have. Kelly, I don't know if you have more.
I'm sorry, you guys, I don't know when CMS might approve it. We have continued to ask, and in fact, just this morning reached out again to CMS and asked for an update.
Thank you for that. Vice Chair Banks, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair.
Thanks, Chair, for recognizing me. I just want to say, because we do have a lot of new council members. I know everybody's so used to using all of the acronyms, OCCD. They don't understand what that is if they don't have the list in front of them of knowing what the agencies is. And I know it's very quickly for us to say it, but they do have I think 4 new council members on here. So if you guys, so they don't get confused on what we're talking about and who we're talking about, can you guys just list in full who those acronyms mean so that they don't feel lost?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Vice Chair. Yes, moving forward, especially for the remainder of this meeting, we do have new council members, and like I said, we're acclimated to many acronyms, but there are some who probably be lost. So we want to make sure we recognize that. Do we have any more comments or questions in regards to the committee report? Anything in the chat? All right, not hearing or seeing anything, this report requires no action to be placed on file. If there's no objection, the meeting will recess for 10 minutes. Are there any comments in the chat box? Seeing and hearing none at this recess, we'll recess for 10 minutes. We'll make it 11. We'll be back at 10:10 a.m. We'll reconvene at 10:10 a.m.
What's up, Jill E? Jill Hurt?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Do you have a contact to communicate with?
Well, not at the moment.
Oh,
But,
okay. Do you email? Can I ever email you to see how you've been?
Well, it kind of depends on it, but I have like a group phone number.
What is that?
It's like a five. Wait a minute. Let me get the number for you. Hold up.
I definitely want to keep in touch. You're one of my best friends, girl.
Hey, you know it. You're my girlfriend. Come on now.
I
You know you're my girl.
Oh, you know
you're
what?
my
I want to
girl.
tell you something funny. So, and I try to kill everybody with kindness. So I was at the Rio Lario Center because I'm representing Special Olympic swimming for the USA National Orlando Games. And I was just doing my thing and I saw Chelsea and her mom, Miss Kim. And I said, hey, how you been? And that girl, it looks like she's changed.
She is.
She
She
her
took my boyfriend. She took Dale away from me.
Oh Lord, but do y'all still talk?
Yeah, we still talk.
You know, Chelsea's been through a lot, and the least people could do is support her because she's like, I'm trying to find work. I can't even go back to. Is Magnolia even open? Because I don't even know.
We are open, but we can't go back on campus at all.
When?
We can't. We don't know.
Oh,
we
Lord.
really don't not know when.
Well, I hope at some point they let them find jobs or work within the community in Jefferson Parish because people don't want to stay home for the rest of their lives.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, I want to go back. Here's my little wish. You know, it's the biggest wish ever.
Yeah.
I want to go back to I'm ready to go back to Cafe Du Monde. I want to go back so bad. You know that.
Yeah.
That's my main wish. That's on top of my listing.
Wow.
Yep. You know it. I'm getting tired of sitting in the house, man. I'm like bored to death. So let me go ahead and get that number for you.
All right, everyone. We're returning. The time is now 10:10. We're called back to order, if you will. Turn your cameras back on and make sure we recognize all protocols in regards to our meetings. We're going to make an adjustment because we know Ms. Melissa Bayham has another obligation, so I want to give her opportunity to do her report. So Ms. Bayham, if you're ready, we'll go ahead and accept the report for the Louisiana Rehabilitation Services.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all allowing me to go ahead of schedule. So in my report, you will see some statistical information about pre-employment transition services and vocational rehabilitation. I'm also happy to report that I will be attending the Jumpstart Convention next week. So I'm looking forward to meeting some new people and making some connections as we try to increase our presence in all school districts in Louisiana so that we can provide pre-employment transition services to all students with disabilities, which is obviously our ultimate goal. You'll see the statistics for vocational rehabilitation for the developmental disability population, and it's also provided to you per region, so you can see that as well. I'm happy to also report that we now have the REDS position that we've discussed before, which is the Rehabilitation Employment Development Specialist, which is basically an in-house job developer. We now have that position filled in every region except the Homer region. So we will be reposting that soon to hopefully get a qualified applicant for that position in Homer.
Is this in a packet or no?
It may not be in the packet, and I apologize. I did not get this report to Amy until yesterday.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But I believe it should be linked now on the website, so I apologize for that. We also, our Louisiana Rehabilitation Council, which is our advisory council, will be meeting on Thursday, January the 27th. So if you want to attend that, that will be a Zoom meeting. We will be, I believe we're going to actually see a YouTube video later when Dr. Wilson gives his report on customized employment, but we are in the process of getting some customized employment training to our vendors through LSU Health Sciences Center. So we're excited about that. I received the proposal yesterday, so I have not looked at it yet. But we are, they have been receiving their training through the University of South Florida, and they will be soon ready to certify vendors in customized employment, which we are excited about. And also during the Education Employment Committee report, it was discussed the STEM Up project, which is a project that we have with Southern University, which is through the Disability Innovation Fund. We are about to kick that off. We will be having some informational sessions starting in the next several weeks that many of you will be invited to participate in, where you will meet the individuals at LRS who will be handling the project, as well as you'll hear from Southern University, and they will discuss the specific goals and objectives of the project, which is essentially to assist individuals, obviously with disabilities, but in marginalized populations, to be able to either obtain, maintain, or advance in employment in STEM occupations. STEM being science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. So we're that's going to be a 5-year project with Southern University, and we are looking forward to that. I also would like to mention that we do have a new regional manager in our Shreveport region. Her name is Teresa Hefner, and she replaces John Chuck Vaughn as the regional manager. I spent some time there next week, and I'll be spending a lot of time in Shreveport for the foreseeable future. Right now, we have 4 full-time counselors in Shreveport and 8 counselor vacancies. So that kind of tells you the shape that we're kind of in that particular region, but we are trying to hire We do have a continuous job posting. It's a statewide job posting on the civil service website because we are recruiting for counselors in every region except Monroe at this point. Right now, Monroe is fully staffed with counselors, but we are looking for qualified rehabilitation counselors statewide. So I do encourage you to have anybody who's interested apply to that statewide continuous job posting. And please be patient and just let me know if you have any constituents in the Shreveport region and are having any difficulty. Please feel free to contact me personally as I'm trying to work through those. We will be having supervisors starting in February because there are no district supervisors in the Shreveport region. So we will be having supervisors rotating every week, and I'll be on that rotation to make sure that they're, in addition to the regional manager, we do have other supervisors in the office to help those counselors. So we are working on getting that region back into the shape it needs to be in. The last thing I want to mention is that we are in the process of updating our state plan. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act requires us to have a combined or unified or combined state plan, which we have a combined state plan, which just means that it includes our required as well as some other partners in our state plan. All of the programs in the Office of Workforce Development are included, as well as the adult education program in our state plan. And that will be available for public comment at some point at the beginning of next month. So you can review that, and we welcome any feedback that you have on our portion. So those are my prepared updates. I see that there are some questions, but I'll wait for the chair to recognize those individuals.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bayham, for your report. Just quick housekeeping. I want to remind all council members and not to interrupt the presenter while they're speaking. Just reserve all questions and comments until the end of the presentation. Do we have any questions from council members? Do we have any hands raised?
Logan Davis and Mitch Idams both have their hands raised.
Okay, Mr. Davis, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I also typed my questions in the chat box. My first one is who is replacing Chuck?
It's Teresa Hefner.
Can you spell that last name?
It's Hefner.
N-E-R?
Yes.
And Teresa is T-E-R-E-S-S-A?
One S, Teresa.
Okay, T-E-R-S-A. Okay. And you will be in the Shreveport for the foreseeable future. What do you mean by that?
Not physically. Well, but last week I was physically there for 3 days. But we will be rotating supervisors to physically be in that office. And I will be on that rotation. So every 6-7 weeks I'll be in Shreveport. Because, and I know I see you typed in the chat a question about, so we have no supervisors there. So I kind of briefly explained to you the organizational structure of LRS. So in a regional office, you have a regional manager, you have district supervisors, you have rehabilitation counselors, and you have rehabilitation counselor associates. And the district supervisors, in addition to normal supervisory type responsibilities, they actually assist counselors with challenging cases, and they actually have to review their casework. So right now we do not have anybody in the district supervisor position in Shreveport. We had 2, and within a very short period of time, 1 resigned and transferred to the Department of Health, and 1 retired. So right now, to be a district supervisor, you really have to be a counselor for several years. And right now, we just don't have anybody qualified for that position in that area, which is why I asked for volunteers, and I will have district supervisors and regional managers from other regions going to that office on a weekly basis to make sure that those counselors are supported.
So does that include does that include Dr. York? Also on that rotation?
So Dr. York is the assistant director and he is not currently on the rotation.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Iddens, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
This is just a quick question for you. In regards to Louisiana Rehabilitation Services and their role in making sure that people that with disabilities that are utilizing your services, what do you feel like is LRS's role in regards to benefits planning? Are any of those certifications, like for customized employment, and for hiring new REDs to help with the job development, are any of those required to have a basic knowledge of benefits planning? And or would you agree that maybe some of those certifications, and particularly the REDs who are really working with people individually to help them find the right job, to have a very in-depth understanding of benefits planning? Because I say that because statewide, there's still a huge issue with individuals going to work that haven't had benefits planning, that really don't understand what they're getting into because of maybe the benefit they're on, SSI or disability insurance, and how earning income is going to impact not only their benefits, but other services they might be receiving, like subsidized housing, reduced transportation costs, food stamps, and all those sorts of things. And not only that, I often see, I have people call me all the time saying, I got a job, but here I've been working for a year and I get a letter from Social Security saying I'm in this overpayment status, and I don't understand what that is, but they want me to pay back, $10,000. And the overpayment situation is still the biggest disincentive to people with disabilities in Louisiana to overcome their fears about stepping out and maybe going to work for the first time, particularly individuals with developmental disabilities that maybe never had a job before, are really wanting to work and have all these supports to maybe help them take that next step to diving into employment. But then when they do, they get this letter from Social Security, and it's fearful. I mean, it kind of undoes everything that all these individuals have done for people to help them get to that next step. So that was a mouthful, but maybe
Yes,
you can kind of maybe you can kind of give me your input on that and how you feel about that.
Absolutely. So
Real quick, Melissa, before you go any further, I saw something in the comment. Will you give what the acronym for RED stands for
Yes,
clarity?
I'm sorry. And I did both, but you might have, you can miss it. So REDS is Rehabilitation Employment Development Specialist, which is basically an in-house job developer for Louisiana Rehab Services. Mr. Ittens, absolutely, benefits planning is very important. We actually, there are, and I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know Dr. Wilson has his hand raised, so he's probably going to tell us. But we do have 2 entities that cover the state for benefits planning. And so our counselors have brochures to give to all of our Social Security recipients to be able to contact those benefits planners, so that they are given that information. And it's been a really long time since I've been a counselor, but I can tell you that when I was a counselor, and I was a counselor for individuals with developmental disabilities, I think sometimes people are very hesitant to contact benefits planners because they feel like they're talking to Social Security, even though we try to tell them that they're not talking to Social Security, but just to kind of throw that in there. But also, I'm happy to report that we do have an individual at state office who is actually in training to become a CWIC, which I think that's a Certified Work Incentive Planner. I'm sorry, I don't know the acronym off the top of my head, but basically it's a benefits planner. Yeah. It's a benefits planner. Right. So she is in the process of doing that. Now, as far as other individuals getting certified in that, we did look at that. But the issue is it's a very labor intensive process. And so we just didn't have staff who had the time to dedicate to that. So counselors, I always encourage counselors not to give in-depth information because you don't want to mess with somebody's Social Security and their other benefits, but we always encourage our individuals to contact benefits planning, but at the end of the day, we can't make them. So just to kind of let you know, sometimes there is that hesitancy for individuals to actually call them.
Well, I certainly understand that, but the problem with that I see and have seen for a long time is there's just not enough certified individuals to go around. Statewide, there are thousands of people that are considering employment on a daily basis. And if you don't have that information up front, if you don't have some basic understanding up front, more often than not, you get a job and you start working, and then you start seeing all these negative effects of that. Now, earning income is a good thing. We all agree to that. But when you're on SSI or disability insurance, if you don't have the right information and you don't have a plan and you don't know what you're getting into when you go to work, it starts having a negative impact on you. And what happens if people give up? They just say, this is too complicated. I don't understand this. Nobody told me about these things before I got a job. So I've always felt like a great place for people to get information is with the state folks, LRS, because you're the guys that are working with these individuals to help them get a job. So I've always felt like if the Reds could have some, and the certification process is complicated, and there's a reason for that, because there is so much involved when you talk about benefits planning, because I'm talking about everything from insurance and how that's going to impact your insurance and how that's going to impact your subsidized housing and that subsidy you're getting to help pay your rent, and just a multitude of things. And so what happens is people, they get a job without getting benefits planning, and it becomes a disincentive for them to continue working because all these negative things begin to happen. And then getting help to resolve those things is even way more complicated, because I'm personally experiencing that right now. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And so I don't know, I guess I've always felt that like benefits planning should be easily accessible. You shouldn't have to talk to somebody way over in Baton Rouge who you call and maybe don't get back to you for 3 or 4 months because they're overloaded with the number of calls they're getting. I don't know. I've just always felt like the Reds or maybe LRS could have a monthly class where individuals that are coming there and getting a case open and maybe beginning to think about employment could get some very basic understanding of what work incentives are and what benefits planning is, and then maybe give them a little bit more information so they can make an informed choice. But I mean, I've always felt like that should be where it starts, is on the local level. You shouldn't have to go through all this red tape to get benefits planning. It should be more readily accessible for people.
Yeah, I understand, and I'll definitely make sure our counselors are referring individuals for benefits planning. But like I said before, I don't like our staff giving very detailed information.
Well, yeah, and I agree with that, unless you've got the training and you've got the knowledge. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. I felt like maybe those Reds or the folks that are working directly with people to help them find a job, maybe in the future, if there could be more emphasis on maybe considering the Reds getting certified in benefits planning and making sure that they're giving people the right information. But yeah, you're right. I went through the training years ago through Cornell University, and it's very, very, very in-depth. But like I said, there's a reason for that, because there's so many issues you have to consider before going to work. And I even heard a benefits planner, a certified benefits planner recently say, oh, well, I don't even want to work with anybody until they're already working, until they take that next step and get a job. Well, that presents a big problem. You should have benefits planning. It's called planning for a reason. You should have benefits planning before you ever take that next step to go to work, because once you start working and earning money over a period of time, again, you're going to create a lot of issues for yourself if you don't understand what you're getting into. And so I see it happen. I have people call me all the time. I got a job and I don't know what to do. I got this letter saying I owe Social Security $20,000 because I made too much money. What's up with that? But that can be prevented if you've got the information on the front end and not on the back end. So anyway.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Mitch.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. I have about 3 hands up. I see Ms. Jill Hayno, then I see Dr. Wilson, then I see Mr. Davis. So Ms. Hayno, we'll go in that order. You have the floor.
Melissa, can you, because I've noticed that and I know that y'all's regions are slightly tweaked from LDH, and today I noticed that y'all had 8 regions as opposed to 10. Can you kind of brief us on what brief being what region is what in comparison to the LDH regions, and then since y'all had kept 8 as opposed to R10, I'm assuming there is a merge on regions. Can you go into that a little bit for us?
Sure. So we use the workforce development regions. So we use the Department of Labor regions as opposed to the Department of Health. And the best way to figure out which region you're in, if you're looking specifically, if you go to the laworks.net website, there's a tab for Louisiana Rehab Services, and it'll list out our regional offices and which parish covers each office. Okay. But just briefly, Region 1 is New Orleans, and it encompasses what LDH or Department of Health considers 1 in 10.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that's the major difference. Region 2 is Baton Rouge. Region 3 is Houma, 4 Lafayette, 5 Lake Charles, 6 Alexandria, 7 Shreveport, and 8 Monroe.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty consistent.
Y'all said y'all are under the Department of Labor?
Correct. We're under the Louisiana Workforce Commission, and we are under their same 8 regions.
Thank you, Ms. Bahian. Dr. Wilson, you recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Okay, so I just want to circle back and not say a whole lot in regard to Mitch's the issue Mitch raised. I'm sorry, I use a standing desk, but I got lazy, so I sat down. So Tori and the Disability Rights Louisiana group is the other grantee for the benefits planning. And what I have to totally say that Melissa, you had it exactly right in terms of, Mitch, if we can come up with a different name so that we don't sound like state government or something, that might help. But I will tell you that probably, and I'm just spitballing this, but I would say 2/3, 3/4 of our referrals come from rehab counselors. So, you know, I think that LRS counselors are getting the word out. Now, if there's somebody who has not gone to a rehab counselor yet and they're thinking about work, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that might fall in that category, that is kind of a gray area. How do you get to somebody that you don't know exists? So I think and unfortunately, Social Security Administration decided they didn't want CWICs spending time doing outreach. So I think what they intended, but never quite made clear the plan, is that Social Security Administration had choice for the reasons that Mitch and others raised about people being nervous about Social Security. They already have people whose jobs solely are to do that outreach. So what I would suggest the ultimate solution might be closer to, if we get with REDS or not case managers, but support coordinators, whomever, give them sort of 101 training, but say, look, you guys, you are the front door. You've got to get these people to contact us. And I will say, I'm shocked to hear that you talked, I don't want no names or anything. If you want to talk to me offline, that would be fine. But I'm shocked to hear a benefits specialist or a CWIC saying, you know, I'm not going to work with you until you actually have a job. That's just totally antithetical to the purpose of the grant. So I don't know where that happened.
Real quick, define CWIC that's an acronym for.
Well, we've been talking about that. It's
Right.
that's right. Community work and certified work incentive counselor is what CWIC stands for. Okay, and not only do these guys do like the training that Mitch alluded to, it's about 6 months. You work real cases, you get real feedback from Social Security Administration people and their contractor, which is Virginia Commonwealth University. You have to demonstrate, not just you can take a test, you actually have to be able to work these very complicated cases. So I do think, although I understand the logic of saying, hey, let's get more people doing this, I think that opens up a lot of tricky doors. I would say to you that if anybody in this group or in the entire state says, hey, I contacted my CWIC and it's been 2 days and I haven't heard back, I can tell you that would not fly at our program. You have 48 hours to actually send that, response back. Now there's a lot of back and forth information and so on. So I just want to put out that we are wide open to how do we get the word out better. But I think it would be really kind of not the best practice to have a lot of people providing that sort of detailed information. So I think there's a solution in there, Mitch and others, that if you can get with, I don't know, Tori, who would be at Disability Rights Louisiana, that's like over that grant. But I know that Sue Killam here and Donald Leger and Dr. Angelosi are CWICs, and they are fabulous and would be very open to, trying to figure out how to make this more accessible to people. And I know, I just don't work directly with the CWICs at Disability Rights Louisiana, but I know that they're really well-trained and very professional. So I think there's a solution. It's just getting the right people at the table to be creative. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Next hand I saw was Ms. Rosalind Heim. Ms. Heim, will you have the floor? You're the chair.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm going to shoot my question a little bit differently, and I'm going to get to the point. What I want to know is this. I'm trying to get back over at Cafe Du Monde and that. And what I really want to do is this. I know I have to go back to LRS, but nah, do I over again all the paperwork to get back to Cafe Du Monde? That's, that's for what I'm hearing.
So Rosalind, and I don't want to, do you want to discuss your
community service?
Okay. So Rosalind, do you want to discuss your case privately?
How can I get in touch with you about
I'll put my email in the chat and we can schedule a call, because I just don't want to discuss your.
Yeah,
but this is a public platform. And I don't want it to become where someone's.
Does that anybody else see any other cases is what I'm trying to say.
But I will say just generally, and you cut out a little bit, so if I don't answer this correctly, please tell me. But if individuals do not currently have a case with LRS, but they previously had cases with LRS, you do have to apply for services again. And depending on how long ago your case was closed, determines whether or not we still have medical documentation to determine your eligibility. So that'll determine how quickly the process will go and if we'll have to get medical records, if that helps answer your question.
Thank you, Ms. Bayon. Mr. Davis, your hand, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. So Ms. Bayham, My first question is on the LADD Council FFY 2022 action plan. Do you have that in front of?
I do not have that in front of me.
Okay, well, I will read it. All right. So activity 3.2.4, advocate for employment providers to have access to financial incentives to support unserved and underserved populations, including people with the most substantial employment support needs in competitive, integrated, individualized employment. Now, my question is, in regard to the employment providers, so I'm guessing those are actual employers, correct?
My understanding when we talk about employment providers are what we call community rehabilitation programs, which we use the acronym CRP. And those are the vendors that we send our consumers to help them to identify competitive integrated employment.
So they are the employer vendors, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a vetting process that y'all do on your level, LRS's level, for those employer vendors?
Yes, we have policy and procedure in place of what qualifications a vendor has to have, and there's insurance requirements and things like that. They have to do background checks, for example, that the vendors have to provide to us in a vetting process before they are actually an approved vendor for LRS.
And Ms. Baham, I have read LRS's policy handbook, and I didn't see where that was. Can you please email me a copy? And I will provide you with my email address on, would you like it right now?
If you would, put it in the chat.
Yeah,
I will do.
That way it's documented. If anything is misspelled, it'll be in place. Just I see your hand, you're recognized by.
I wasn't done, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I apologize.
It's okay, it's okay.
For housekeeping purposes, we're limited to 3 minutes for questions because we want to be considered, because I'm looking at, we have hands raised, and this is not toward any individual. I see buku questions in the chat. So I'll go ahead and permit this other question. Go ahead.
Okay. In regards to medical documentation, when you apply to LRS, you provide the medical documents initially. You're made to sign a medical release, HIPAA. You're made to, and so you do that. And from what source does LRS receive medical documentation?
That's going to depend on the individual's disability. So that's kind of a hard question to answer. Just to give you some examples, like if an individual is receiving services through one of the local governing entities, we would do a release form to get their medical records from them if they're receiving services from the Office of Behavioral Health. If the individual has a physical disability, say they receive services through a neurologist, just as an example, then we would do a release for us to get their medical records from their neurologist, because we have to have basically the most up-to-date medical records that basically whatever your present functioning is, we need the medical records that reflect that. And that's simply to determine eligibility for services, because federally we were required to document that an individual has a disability to receive services.
Okay, say a person has a traumatic brain injury, as I have. I went to my provider's office and I said, I don't want my medical documents to be shared with LRS anymore. And they looked at my history, my cases, and they were like, they never were listed as authorized. And yet I went to a meeting and y'all laid it all out for me. And I was like, this is an vision, but I was just curious, like where you go to obtain those documents, because it's not through the hospital system.
Okay, let me interject. I'm gonna request that this conversation be taken offline. Please exchange email addresses, and that way we can
Okay.
go with the
Thank
rest
you.
of the meeting.
And look, Mr. Davis, I have put my email in the chat.
Okay, and I have two, and I just messaged it to you, so you
Okay.
can.
Mr. Edens, I see your hand. You recognized by the chair. You
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Melissa, just one last thing. Would it be possible if LRS could consider that when a RIDS is at the point where they're ready to work with someone for job placement, or at some point in time during the development of a person's individualized employment plan, that there could be some clause in their plan that states that they're required to meet with a benefits planner and that they sign off on that prior to getting a job. And if that could be done, that if a benefits planner meets with a client, then a copy of that benefits plan with the client's permission could go into their case record stating that they have met with the benefits planner, that they understand these rules and work incentives, and that they've got a good understanding of them prior to being placed in on a job.
So Mr. Ittens, our rehabilitation counselors, who are the ones who meet with our clients for individualized plans for employment, are required to give benefits planning information to their consumers, but I can't make a consumer go to a benefits planner. That's their choice.
Well, I understand it's their choice, but I'm just wondering because, I'm hearing a lot of, making sure that there's adequate benefits planning to go around and making sure that there are people that understand benefits planning. I just think it might be helpful, and it might be a policy if we could maybe consider a policy that, look, if you're going to have a case with LRS and we're going to help you get a job, we want to make sure that you know what you're getting into, that you have an understanding of how working and earning income is going to impact your benefits. I think that little step right there would help resolve a lot of the problems that people get into. I don't know if LRS has the authority to do that, but maybe there's more emphasis put on it. Maybe that as part of an individualized plan, that maybe you even get them to say, do you want to do benefits planning? Yes or no? I don't know. It just gives them more opportunity and encourage them maybe to do that, because I tell you, there's this huge, I'll make this brief, there's this huge disconnect between the state and the federal agencies, the folks at Social Security Administration. A lot of those folks there, even on the local level, have no idea about benefits planning, have no idea what those incentives are. So I don't know. I just see this being a chronic issue statewide. And until we put more emphasis on making sure people understand what they're getting into, it's going to continue to be a disincentive to people going back to work, is what I'm saying. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Ms. Edens. Vice Chair Banks, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
But some of those people, some of them think they're not, if they're a CWIC, then they're certified.
Nicole, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I was just talking. Thank you, Vice Chair, for recognizing me. But I do want to point out, it is not only a Louisiana state thing. My sisters live all the way in Portland, Oregon, and they're going through the same thing. They wanted to work. My sister got degrees and everything else, and because they're blind, they don't get the kind of jobs that they need because they need assistance in reading, the stuff, and not all companies are equipped to handle all that. But Mr. Mitch is right. Long time. You're overpaying it for like 15 years. Like, we do have to have somewhere, and it's not just a Louisiana thing, y'all. It is a whole United States thing. And I know we can't just, pinpoint these things, but collectively, all these agencies really need to sit back and have a meeting together, all of those things, so that they can see the big picture of it, because it's like we're going in circles. We're pushing for these people to have jobs. Then when they get the jobs, then they lose all their services. And then they have to pay money back. And then it goes into that cycle of a discouragement thing, like, all right, you put me up here, but then you're going to knock me off down there. So, maybe that can be brought up to all of the agencies that's on this call, so they can collectively see how this is a systematic problem. You know, you have to change the system or the operations on how we're doing this, because it's not working out for anyone. And we're spinning our wheels, going through this bill, going through that bill, getting this amended, that amended, and for what? And we're all just going to end up back in the same place. So I think we probably need to just bring that into attention, just bring it up so they can start discussing that. I mean, like within like the next year or so, not 4 or 5 years from now, like right now, because this is a problem with a lot of people. It's not just Louisiana, it's a whole bunch. So just if we can do that, if we can come up with something, even if we have to do an executive meeting or something like that, and come up with something to where we can get these entities a meeting. Hey guys, this is what's going on with our people. This is what's going on. We do want to help them, but this is what happens when we help them. So I think that does need to happen. I mean,
Right.
whoever want to head it up or suggesting, I mean, you guys that's up in all those positions and that's already talking to the big people, hey, make the conversation so that we can really make progress and really system change things like we're here to do. And that's all. I yield the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Banks. Very much, the whole purpose here is for systems change. And I'm gonna have a follow-up conversation with you on that one, Vice Chair Banks. That way we can go ahead and see what components we can get in place, so we're not just talking, we're able to execute something effectively, because there's so many people who are victims of vicious cycles. So, I don't see any more hands raised. Do we have any comments or questions in the chat?
Yes, sir. We have a good bit. I'm not sure what is still relevant, but I guess I can go through and read them. It's been about 30 minutes, so. Would you like me just to start from the beginning, work my way down?
Yes, that way we don't overlook anything that anybody said, anything that's relevant to the conversation that was in topic.
Okay, and you also have Miss Kathy Dwyer with her hand raised.
Okay, Ms. Dwyer, I recognize you just as soon as the comments.
Okay, Mr. Harlan Kauser said the program that provides benefits counseling is transferring to a new contractor and is not helpful at the moment. Mr. Charles Michel said, my son was caught in the whole benefits thing. He provided all info requested for 4 years, and for each of those 4 years, he was determined eligible for benefits, and those monthly benefits were adjusted based on the info provided. One day he got a certified letter which started, quote, the people of the United States of America versus insert my son's name here. It was determined that he had to pay back all of the previous 4 years' benefits, even though SSA qualified him every step of the way. He is now paying back a monthly payment, which will take longer than his life expectancy. When I contacted Steve Scalise's office, his assistant told me that, quote, well, you know, Medicaid really doesn't like it when people with disabilities work, unquote. I'll stop now because my response was loud and very direct.
Duly noted.
Mr. Iddens said, I hear these stories often, and that is why I'm trying to help get more access to the right information and still believe it begins on the local level with LRS. Dr. McKee says, thank you for the comments on benefits planning. This reinforces the education and employment recommendation to conduct more research to develop ways to support our community. The research will support what direction we should advocate for to be put into practice. Mr. Harlan Kauser says Disability Rights Louisiana no longer has the contract to do the benefits counseling. The Lighthouse is the new contractor. Scrolling down. Dr. Wilson responded to Mr. Michel, but I believe that was just a personal response. Charles Michel says, I feel compelled to say that LRS has been a lifeline to our family over the past 25 years, helped with employment, transportation, education. For us, their system worked in the best possible way. It is SSA who has demonstrated a lack of efficiency, accuracy, and compassion. Thank you to LRS. Mr. Mitch Eden says, I agree, me as well. Dr. McKee says, our Education Employment Committee has recommended to the full council to permit more research be conducted on the subject to determine how to best proceed to support our community. Ms. Rosalind Heimel agrees. Dr. McKee says, and to be considered in our FY23 planning. Ms. Kathy Dwyer says, thank you. And wow, Charlie, unbelievable. And that is it. And then Ms. Kathy Dwyer has her hand raised.
Thank you for those comments. Ms. Dwyer, you're recognized by the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to make sure I understand, the issue is that we've currently been discussing is making sure those who apply for rehabilitation services are made aware of benefits planning. Am I correct?
That's correct, as I understand it. Yes, Ms. Dwyer.
Okay. And I haven't been through the process with my daughter, but unless you already do this, wouldn't it be as simple as including a piece of paper in the packet, even if it's in a bright color, about benefits planning, saying this is an important service to make sure you don't lose your benefits, and list examples, and then have them sign they receive it, but also have contact information for the benefits planning offices?
Right. So at the planning stage, we do give this information to all of our individuals who are receiving services. Now, I can't tell you 100% of the time it's done, but and I think, you know, Dr. Wilson alluded to that they receive many referrals from us, which tells me that our counselors are doing what they're supposed to do as far as giving that information, which includes the contact information for the benefits planners when they are doing their individualized plans for employment.
Well, that's good to know. And maybe just another follow-up, handing out the same piece of paper, making sure they've contacted, you know, asking and getting a yes or a no.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dwyer. And Ms. Bayham, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any more comments or questions or public comment in regard to the presentation, the report by LRS, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services?
There was one more comment. Ms. Nicole Flores says, we do need more education for families on benefits planning / processes. And that is all.
Thank you for that. And you know, one thing to say is Ms. Bayham is a wealth of knowledge, and she's been very accessible to all of us as council members. And she's open-minded. She's very easy to work with, very easy to talk to, very approachable. And for that, we thank you, Ms. Bayham. And she's made her information available. I realize that we're not going to be able to solve all problems in our council meetings, but if we can have those conversations, which are the tough conversations, that we can initiate to move forward, because just like Vice Chair Banks said, it's not just Louisiana problem, it's a whole systems change problem across this country. So we're on the front line, so we're going to have to be vigilant, but feel free to contact Ms. Bayham. She's a wealth of, she's open-minded, and she's willing to assist in any way, not just because of position, because of her character and her personality. Ms. Bayham, thank you for your report. If we have no other questions, no other public comment, your report will be placed on file, and there's no other action needs to be taken. At this point, we will receive a report from the Office of Aging and Adult Services.
I'm not sure that we have a representative from OAAS on.
Okay.
The report is online, though, for anyone to view.
Okay, so no representation from Office of Aging and Adult Services. That report is online. So that report requires no action to be placed on file. And for those who want to review it, looks like it's already been uploaded into the chat. So the next report is from the LSU Health Sciences Center, Human Development Center.
Excuse me, this is Bambi. I do have a comment on the Office of Aging report. If I can.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't see the hands. Ms. Polozo, you're recognized by the chair, and Mr. Davis, I see your hand. You're recognized after Ms. Polozo.
So my question was, I don't know if someone's going to be on later to from the Office of Aging, but I think it's important for us to get information in regards to the rates for our community choice waivers, and I think it's also long-term personal care. We spoke about this before in regards to kind of discrepancies in our home and community-based services among systems. And as I understand it now, LDH made the request to CMS to get those rates raised for OAAS and long-term personal care, but they haven't got a response. So since October 1st, our OCD waivers have had a higher rate, but not the aging. So that's just an update that I think we all need to have.
Agreed. Thank you, Ms. Polozola. Mr. Davis, I see your hand, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say, because the Miss Bayham gave her report early, that I don't want to go into it any further in this public setting, but she was what's the word? She can email me directly and we can discuss this offline, if that's okay with her. Okay, and I saw her nod her head, so that's good.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. And thank you for stopping me and when you did, because yeah.
Now we just want to recognize Robert protocol. That's all. And
yes,
let me his memory. When the floor is yielded to you by the chair, you have actually 3 minutes to articulate whatever it is that you want to express. So, Ms. Hagan, I see your hand. Chair, you have the floor.
Okay, and maybe someone from the council actually texted Elizabeth Atkins, who's the interim assistant secretary for the Office of Aging. We had a conflict this morning, and so she did say that she was joining. So I'm not sure if she's on yet or not, but I was going to respond to Bambi on the rates. But I see Hannah just saying she's moved to panelist, so she can. I'll defer to her to answer if I let her know that they had a question about the rates. Although I guess I can get started and then let Elizabeth join since she may not have heard what the question was.
Please proceed.
The question was about the rates for the OAAS waiver services, and it is accurate as part of the American Rescue Plan Act that I mentioned earlier in the meeting in relation to support coordination. Another ask that we had was that we increase the rates for personal care services in the OAAS waivers to be commensurate with the OCDD waivers. So right now, or the adult waivers. In our adult waivers, it equates to $18.50 per hour for the in-home services by a direct support worker. And the OAAS rates, if approved, would be the that same amount, with also with the requirement of the $9 per hour direct care wage floor, similar to what we have in OCDD. That was a part of our American Rescue Plan Act, and we are still awaiting approval. As we mentioned this morning, we don't have a definitive date other than any day now. So that was the question. And then I yield the floor to Elizabeth if she wants to add more. Just wanted to make sure she had the background.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all today. And Julie is correct. OAS, to ensure equality across our waivers, we have built in for both long-term personal care services and for our community choices waiver, personal assistance services. We have requested rate increases up to $18.50 an hour. We have the same increases for our support coordination services. We've also requested the funding to increase rates for adult day healthcare. So we were really looking to be very intentional and comprehensive. Is there any other specific information I'd be happy to provide?
Thank you for that, Ms. Atkins. Let me check. Do we have any questions? I don't see any hands raised. Do we have any questions or any comments from any of our council members? Not seeing any. Do we have any comments or questions in the chat?
Mr. Rivera and Mr. Idens both raised their hands.
Okay. Mr. Revere, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Yeah, Elizabeth, just to add just a little color with the elderly programs being disproportionate to the DD programs as far as rate reimbursement. I just received a text last week from a provider down in the New Orleans area that they were going to start discharging some of their long-term PCS clients because of difficulty in staffing. So anyway, I know you know that story, but I wanted to share a little bit of color with you on that. In the event CMS would call you, you could sort of have a sense of urgency in the phone call. So thank you for all you're doing, and I appreciate the information today.
Absolutely. And thank you. And I do appreciate receiving notification of this occurring. We have internally across our community choices waiver, adult day healthcare, and state plan LTPCS, we've been tracking the incident and frequency that this is occurring. And actually this morning we were having more conversation about digging into the data to very clearly illustrate the impact to our delivery system. So while we know it's present, I really wanted to quantify it and to provide that further information. So those are activities in process at Office of Aging.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Mr. Idens, I see your hand raised. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Atkins, good day. I have a quick question about the community choice waiver or LTPCS support services. If an individual is in a nursing facility and desires to transition back into the community and calls the 800 long-term number and request a waiver, do they still have priority for those waivers? And can those waivers be expedited? And if yes, tell me what that process looks like if you have a moment.
Absolutely. So yes, we're very committed to supporting people when they choose to live somewhere else other than a facility. So yes, the step a person could take is to call our 1-800-546-1116 number and get them on the registry. What we do at very, very regular intervals is we pull that registry and we pull the complete listing of every nursing home resident in the state, and we bump those two lists together. And when we have a match, we immediately move to offer that person community choices waiver. All of those offers are delivered by OAS transition coordinators versus mailing them like other offers are done. And that's done just to ensure the individual has an opportunity to ask questions and such. A person may also call our OAS helpline and also request services. So the long-term care number, OAS helpline will align the person in the same path. There's also a federally mandated Section Q referral process. And that is where nursing facilities have responsibility to notify Office of Aging anytime a resident informs them they're interested in knowing more about how to move to the community. And so we do actively receive Section Q referrals from nursing homes. And we do, we pull everyone from those three streams all follow the same process where we align them with waiver services and a transition coordinator delivers and begins that process. And yes, I can put the number in the chat to our helpline.
Okay, I'm glad you explained that process. And I've been working with a client in a nursing facility in North Louisiana that we went through that process. I met with this individual and the social worker there at the nursing facility and requested that she assist him to apply for the community choice waiver. And this was been about a month ago or so. And the last time he called me was to say that he was told that he was just being added to a list. Is there any way that you could assist me in finding out if someone's, let me ask you this back up. If he's called and requested it and he's talked to someone, will a case manager or who is going to come out to the facility and assess his needs and determine if he qualifies for the waiver? Is that the next step?
Yes. So our OAS regional offices, so our OAS medical certification specialists will review to see if a person's eligible. That review with COVID, it may be a desk review. If they're unable to gather the information via desk review, then they will go out on site and do a face-to-face assessment. And once we can validate if it appears level of care is met, then we do a transition coordinator will meet with that person. A person's not strictly added to a list.
Right.
I've added my email in the chat. Please feel free to email me about this specific case and I'll look and where that person is in the process.
Thank you very much. That'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Ms. Polozola, I see your hand. You're recognized. You have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Mitch described, that that situation in my experience is not just something that's a one-off. Like that is what the experience is for people across the state. And I know you said that the nursing facilities are federally mandated if someone asked to move back into the community. I think the issue is that people don't know that they even have an option, so they don't ask. And so often I hear people saying that that they would like to be able to come home. They have the natural supports to complement the home and community-based supports, but they don't know. And our nursing facilities, unfortunately, my experience is that they don't have any reason or motivation to necessarily share that. And unfortunately, we have a culture in our country, I guess in the world, where we just put people when they age into facilities. And so this has been a real problem. I know that the staff at Office of Aging really try to help out, but I think it's just kind of a culture and a systems issue that really affects me.
It is, and we see the same as well with the My Choice, or with the agreement that LDH has with the U.S. Department of Justice. One of the strategies we've undertaken by that agreement, but it really has a much bigger purpose, is we, beginning in April of 2021, we've committed to visiting every single member that's identified as being part of the target population, just to talk with them and educate them on their options, their rights, and how they can exercise their options. Thus far, we've seen about 1,400 people. We've worked with our technical assistance advisors that we have access to via the agreement, and we worked with a couple other stakeholders to refine the materials we give the person. And we have countless examples of people who, when we talk about and educate people on what their rights are, they're sometimes surprised. So that's activity we're engaged in now. We have about 490 people left to see. And then once we see those 490, we'll have seen everyone on the master list that we've identified as a member of that target population. That's just a fraction of the overall nursing home population. I will share this discussion with our Money Follows the Person staff. Those are also an OAS team of transition coordinators. That team since 2009 has transitioned a little over 3,000 people. They're also in nursing facilities. So I'll reiterate with both of our transition coordination efforts this discussion and how important it is to be sure when they are in facilities to talk with as many people as possible, just so people know what their options are. If you want to live in a nursing home, that's okay. You don't have to go. But if you are interested in doing something else with your life and your living situation, then we want that person to know. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't see any hands raised. Do we have any comments in the chat?
Two people have their hands raised, Chair, Mitch Hiddens and Matthew.
Okay, I apologize. They're on a different screen for mine. Mr. Hiddens, you're recognized by the floor. You have, by the chair, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bambi, thank you for that, because you're absolutely right. You guys, I've been doing this job for 18 years. I've been going into nursing homes when people call here and ask for information about transition services for 18 years. I've never been in a nursing home where I was welcomed. I've never been in a nursing home where I was not threatened by the staff there or made to feel like I was a threatening entity coming in there. This particular situation where I went out to see this guy in a nursing home in North Louisiana, the social worker absolutely did not want to sit down and talk with us. She made me feel absolutely uncomfortable. She wanted to know what I was doing there, why I was there. And when I explained to her what my role was and why I was there, because this person called me and it was my job to respond to him wanting more information about community choices, I asked her if she knew about how to apply for a community choice waiver. She said, "What is that?" I said, "You know how to call this number? And have you ever called this number to apply for long-term care service to anybody?" "No, I don't even know what that's at." That's a social worker working in a nursing facility. And this has been my experience for the past 18 years. I've even been accused of coming into nursing home and soliciting, coming into the nursing homes and asking people, "Hey, I'm here to get you out." I mean, you wouldn't believe what I've been up against just when I go into a nursing facility in North Louisiana just to provide information. It's ridiculous. And so, Bambi, you are absolutely right. There is such a disconnect between the state offices and the nursing facilities and these social workers that have a bias to the facility. You know, their bias is to the employer that employs them, not to the residents that live there. And when you talk about community options versus long-term care facilities, it's only an option when it's readily accessible, when people truly know about it, and when you don't have to jump through a bunch of red tape to actually move from the facility into the community, which still exists. There's still all these extreme barriers to make that transition. Oh, well, we have coordinators and we have people that, you know, are trained to do that. My experience on a daily basis is baloney. There's still so much red tape and so many things you got to do to get somebody out of a nursing home back into the community. It's a tremendous amount of work, but it all starts with educating those folks in the nursing facilities to be able to inform these residents what their options really truly are, and that it's a viable option, that you can actually access it when you're ready to move out. You know, I mean, you wouldn't believe the things that I encountered going into these nursing facilities. So thank you for saying that, man, because you're absolutely right. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hiddens. Mr. Revere, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Elizabeth, I know Julie shared with us some exemptions that she's seeking approval for. Is the such as you know, the 16-hour rule and family members being able to work in the home? Is that a similar? Are you also seeking out similar exemptions?
We are at Office of Aging seeking out exemptions. They do differ. Community Choices Waiver doesn't have a 24-hour care option, and we don't see things like 16 hours worked in a given shift. So there are some differences stemming from the differences of the program. But I can get. I wasn't prepared for that, but I will pull right now. what
That's
we
fine.
are
You can
looking at
share it in the
different.
chat, or you can share it with Brandon, and then he can send that later. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bear. Do we have any more hands raised? Do we have any comments in the chat?
Yes,
Question.
there's one comment in the chat from Miss Karanda Corley. She says, that's right. Additionally, those facilities make the individual sign over their property, monies, etc. when they move into those facilities, leaving them nothing to go back to.
Sad but true. The barriers, you have the state, then you have private investors, and that's where the big wall really comes up. Do we have any other comments or any questions?
Miss Karanda Corley has her hand raised.
Ms. Corley, you're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Ennis and Ms. Polazola for actually commenting, because their comments were very much on point. And yes, the staff does not know. Many of the staff don't know. They have no clue. They don't even know what the ombudsman is supposed to do. They don't know anything about being inspected. They know nothing about state coming in to do the inspections, etc. It is so problematic that a lot of the staff in those facilities don't know anything. And the care that the staff, that the actual people in there receive is deplorable. The families, before a family submit, have their individual put in that facility, they have to sign over everything, including if they're receiving Social Security. And when they receive a Social Security amount from the actual facility, is only $42 a month that person is supposed to live off of and buy their supplies. It's a problem. It's a problem. And if we want them to be able to come back to the home, then that means OCDD, you're going to have a lot of work to do. Because these nursing home facilities, you just need to look at what happened with Hurricane Ida. That was proof of what they do. That's nothing that just started happening. That is something that has been going on for years, years and years and years. And our state has just been turning a blind eye to it. They are human beings too. And a lot of them are people in our community, but their family are told different things about what's going on to them. If you don't believe me, read the newspaper where they showed how a lot of people with disabilities, their families were told that their family was safe and in safe conditions. And it wasn't until after their family member died that they learned everything that their family member was subjected to. So we definitely have to do something as a DD council instead of just sitting quiet by the wayside. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Corley. And again, one of those gray lines is when we have that gray area where sometimes the nursing home is more interested in making sure they appease investors as opposed to the public service they're actually supposed to be providing. And it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Ms. Eagley, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Can somebody explain to me what Ms. Corley was saying? I'm just trying to understand the big picture.
The big picture, what Ms. Corley was saying, and Ms. Corley, if you don't mind me giving a summation of it, one of the things is that the thing that's being echoed the most is that based upon some of the exposure that's come on the news, and especially in light of Hurricane Ida, that the best interest of those who are in those nursing homes have not received the care that they should be receiving. Unfortunately, it's something that's been going on. It's just something that got exposed in the highlight of the hurricane with all the different transitions. So the question is, how can we as a DD council with our network of community partners and agencies have an intervention to make sure that this is not something that continues to go on, as opposed to make sure that we're just not standing on the sidelines looking at these injustices happen to these families and to those who are recipients of the care that's supposed to be quality care that's not being received. So I hope I answered your question.
Oh, so they would need support and care, like from Hurricane Ida from August of last year, they would need round the support and care from the state. Try to.
Somewhat, but more so the quality care. Care, when you put someone in a nursing home, you're entrusting where you can go to sleep at night knowing that my loved one is going to be taken care of.
I got you.
It's showing that that's not, it's been exposed daily around the country that that's not really what's happening. So that's what we're addressing about that now.
Okay.
Ms. Heimel, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor. I saw Ms. Heimel, but look, she went off my screen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. You have the floor. You're recognized by the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For me, for what I'm understanding about nursing homes and that. But so this is what I want to know as well from the nursing homes, and this is what I want to know. Is it also the group home?
On my end, Ms. Heimel just froze.
You really, no matter which way you are?
Ms. Heimel, you were freezing. I wasn't quite able to make out what your question was.
What I wanted to know was, is it two different things between the home and the group home settings? You know, I understand with the nursing homes and that because my uncle was in that kind of setting. And also, is it the same as a group home? Between like Ida, because when we got back, everything had changed. So is it the same between the two or is it different in the two? Can somebody explain that?
They're different. To answer your question, I'm not sure if I'm one that can answer it unless someone else would like to interject, but the nursing homes usually going to provide care for individuals who have either some kind of health or ailing situation. Sometimes residential group homes may just be providing residency for individuals who may not have as severe issues as the others. Anyone else?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure if it was the same as a group home or not.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll table this one and we'll take it offline, and I'll find out if we can get a good answer for you. That way we can, because I don't want to throw anything hypothetical at you. That way we have the effective answer for you, because I don't think we have anyone that's able to answer that. That's part of this council meeting on today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know, but hey, I want to, find
It's a good
out.
question. It's definitely a good question. Do we have any other comments or questions in the chat?
No, sir.
Okay, not seeing any or hearing any. For this report, it'll require no action or to be placed on file. The next item of business is a report from LSU Health Sciences Center, Human Development Center. So the chair recognizes Dr. Phil Wilson. You have the floor for your report.
Thank you, Rashad. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a few highlights, and then hopefully Amy or somebody at the council will be able to show you a little video of some work we've been doing lately. So you have the report. I'm not going to read it to you in its entirety, but I did want to highlight a couple areas that we, have been making some progress in this past quarter. So in the area of early childhood, one of our big goals for the center is to enhance our collaboration. And some partners that we've been working with over the last quarter include New Orleans Early Education Network. And here's some alphabet soup for you. We call that NOEEN. We've been working with the Tulane University Tykes program, which is basically a child care center. And we've also been working with 22 individual child care centers in and around greater New Orleans and sometimes a little further out. We also are working with New Orleans Ready Start Network, which one of the 4 main goals for a grant that New Orleans Ready Start Network has is on a grant that's called a transformation grant, is to improve the quality of special education services for in early childhood settings for kids from 6 weeks to 5 years of age. So Maria Blanco and her team of about 10 or so staff have been doing a lot of work in that area, along with Katie Rambo, who's another shaker and mover in that area. In the area of school age programs, Julie Riley is our director of that area, and we've been able to add 6 additional school districts to the what we now call LaSard, but hang on, I'm going to tell you what that means. But we're in the process of kind of rebrand or rename this program, and I'll explain just a second why. So LaSard now is Louisiana Autism Spectrum and Related Disabilities. So basically, significant disabilities, severe disabilities, cognitive and intellectual and physical disabilities is what LaSard kind of addresses head on, okay? So we now have 31 school districts across the state. And actually for the first time in about almost 15 years, I guess it's been, going on the 16th year that we've been implementing this project. We have more programs in the central and northern part of the state than we do in the south part of the state, which I know for a lot of people who watch us carefully is like, it's hard for us to do projects at a distance because it's a long ways between New Orleans and Shreveport or Monroe or whatever. So anyhow, that program has really made an impact in our state. And I know the DD Council has helped us on several occasions to kind of get that word to the Department of Education that this is an important project. We do appreciate that. A couple other things, the Louisiana Deaf Blind Project is a grant that Dr. Michael Norman is the director of. He works very closely with Children's Hospital, ambulatory care services at Children's. And one of the projects he works on, believe it or not, is Cancer Survivor Late Effects Clinic. So a lot of the children who had pediatric cancer acquire disabilities that if they were born with those disabilities, you would say, oh, this child has a developmental delay or a developmental disability. But in the case of a lot of pediatric cancer survivors, they acquire those sometimes as a result of the treatment that saved their life. So some go blind or have intellectual challenges or other types of challenges. So Michael's doing some really important work in collaboration with Children's Hospital. I would be remiss to say on the tech side, we have St. Tammany schools and St. Bernard schools are in the process of coming on board with what we currently are doing with Jefferson Parish schools, which is we call Paycheck, which stands for Paid Apprenticeship for Youth program. We take students who are 18 to 22 and we have them go to the community college. We teach them to ride the bus, use their smartphones to be safe and get around and do those kinds of things. And we support them as they acquire the knowledge and skills to actually be pretty much independent on the campus. And then once that's in place, we place them in a paid apprenticeship where they all make a minimum of around approximately $10 an hour for the time that they are working, so that when they leave high school, they leave high school with experience and work and something on their resume. So we're real proud of that program. And I think the other common things, we're working with Ochsner Hospital and LRS to start a project search program at main campus in Jefferson Parish down on River Road at the hospital there. And I won't attempt to tell you what Project Search is right now, but let's just say it's somewhat similar but different from the paycheck program, if that helps. But I know for time reason, I can't go into much detail there. The other big thing in the area of collaboration right now would be, I guess that covers most. Well, we also are doing something with Bell Chase, YMCA, and Plaquemines Parish School Board and St. Bernard School Board. We're trying to create a inclusive recreational program that includes individuals who are blind, and primarily children and young adults. I could go on, but I'm thinking that in the interest of time, I think we're a little behind, that you have this report. We try to put it in plain English, give us feedback if it sounds like it's too technical or whatever, and we'll keep revising how we present this. And here's what I'll do. I'll ask Amy or Hannah, somebody to try to show that little video. It's less than 5 minutes, I believe. And that will be my report, and I will stay on for any questions after the video.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Do we have the video available for play?
You should just be able to click the link and it should play.
Yeah, just give me a second to just share it.
More pizza is butter and bigger at the door. Sam succeeds at her job because it was created just for her based on her.
Can people hear it? Are people able to hear the video?
I could hear it.
I could hear it before it stopped.
Yeah.
It froze up on my end.
All right, good.
Could you go back to the beginning? Thank you.
Meet Sam. She works at That's Amore Pizzeria. Hi, my name is Samantha, and my job at That's Amore Pizza is butter and bigger at the door.
Sam succeeds at her job because it was created just for her based on her unique strengths. This process is called customized employment, a process used to create jobs for persons who have traditionally been left out of the workforce. Customized employment identifies a job seeker's interests, talents, and conditions for employment, then uses that information to develop a job for them that's a perfect match.
It's a great opportunity because the position is customized specifically for them. So it definitely highlights their strengths, and they don't have to focus on the things that they cannot do, but it's more so about what they can do.
The first step of customized employment is the discovery stage, where the job specialist meets with the job seeker, their family, and community members to create a vocational profile of the job seeker.
I'm a hard worker. I like to help people, and I like to get my job done. Thanks.
From the vocational profile, a customized plan is developed that identifies the pathway forward to employment. The customized plan bridges a gap from discovery to job placement.
My mom and me used to come here all the time, and I always would watch people and how they would help and greet and make sure everything was good. So that's what I like to do.
It was customized initially just by this location. This location was very familiar to Sam, and so she already felt comfortable in this location, and then we worked with the manager to customize the position.
During job development and negotiation, the customized employment specialist turns their attention to employers to identify unmet business needs that can be fulfilled by the job seeker, and then negotiates a unique role for that job seeker.
In the beginning, Sam said she wasn't very comfortable speaking with other people. Basically, we just had her making drinks, but as it went on, she kind of got stronger in that aspect, and now she's able to greet people at the door and sit them and get their drinks and everything else.
Once a job placement is secured, the customized employment specialist works with the new employee to provide job training and any additional needed accommodations and supports.
Sam is very great at following directions. I noticed that. So she had no issue with being trained on how to exactly take the orders and how to exactly fix the drinks. So her following directions, that was one of her strengths that she was able to bring to the position.
So the restaurant does definitely run a lot more efficiently now that Sam is here. She makes sure that everybody's doing what they need to be doing. She's on top of her game, and she makes sure that everything is just always falls in place.
Dining in, you can sit wherever. I think a lot of times employees don't understand how they lack certain little small details when it comes to their businesses, and those small details can be filled by customized positions.
I like my job because I get to help people. Comprehensive customized employment trainings are coming to Louisiana in spring 2022. HTC partnered with LRS to receive Train the Trainer trainings from the USAID, University of South Florida. These new comprehensive trainings include online learning modules, weekly facilitated meetings, technical assistance, trainee mentoring, study cases, and more. Customized employment works. Visit www.hdc.lsuhsc.edu for updates.
Excellent video of action and works. Do we have any council members with any questions on the report that was presented by Dr. Wilson? I see Dr. McKee, your hand is raised. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't have a question. I just wanted to say how refreshing it was to see this video and how there's a sense of meaningfulness and purpose on both ends, right? So you have the individual who's working, who feels like she's a part of something, that she's part of this whole process, but then you have the employer out, like, you know, saying that how valuable she is to their team and how she's bringing more to them. And this is the kind of work that we need to continue to get behind and highlight and let the public know what we're doing. This is exceptional. I was so engaged, so impressed. It was visually appealing. Everyone that can see what's happening in the great work. And so I want to just applaud all of the work that you all have been doing and just continue to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Totally agree. Do we have any
Pass that
other?
on to the people that do all the real work around here. Thank you, Dr. Steve.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments from council members before we move to the chat? Okay, I see Ms. Heimel. You have the floor. You're recognized by the chair.
It's more like I'm glad to really see for what I really, for, you know, what's, you know, improvement in where people can see will be going forward with. And I'm hoping that will continue of going forward with. And I'm glad there was a video. I'm glad that there will be a lot more people could reach. He is reaching out more. And I'm hoping we could have that more and more in the future.
Agreed. It's a pleasant reminder while we're all members of this council. I know, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. Then Ms. Jordan.
Okay, I don't typically share personal stories in public forum, but this video kind of triggered me because, like, other than craving pizza now, I work as a hostess slash bus boy and get the drinks, whatever they need me. And I wanted to say that I was with LRS until the COVID, then until the pandemic, then my mom last year, my mom was like, okay, you need just a job. So she went through, so we kind of went around town, just her and I, to local restaurants, because I have physical issues. I mean, just in case y'all were wondering. But I was like, I can be a hostess. And so we went from restaurant to restaurant, and this video inspired me to share because, again, I didn't by myself. And then so I went on a Friday to I guess I would call it a mom and pop shop to drop up my resume, and she interviewed me like right on the spot. Then we talked for like 10 minutes. She was like, she commented on the fact that I was looking for work. This isn't 2 minutes, sorry. Looking for work when people were doing just the opposite. So she interviewed me on the spot, hired me on the spot, and then it was 1 o'clock, and she said, all right, dinner's at 5, you free? And of course I was, but I just want, the purpose is that they're like the customized, the sets that she wanted, the sets that I saw on the video with people that the lady was doing with the customized employment are relatively similar to the sets my boss takes upon herself to do, because we always like have our, this isn't working, let's do this talks. So I just wanted to say that it's hard. People suck. But there are good people out there. And
thank you for that, Ms. Haynes.
Sorry, I'm done.
You're absolutely right. There are good people out there, and that's actually a good pressure of that video. Ms. Jordan, I see you recognized by the chair.
Sorry.
No problem. It's hard not to get emotional.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, and thanks, Dr. Wilson. I appreciate that that update. Very thorough. Love the work you're doing alongside our early childhood networks, which is work very much needed. Love the paycheck program as well. My only question in all of that was, do you have the ability to expand and partner with more of our districts? I saw you're working with some really great districts who are very forward thinking and inclusive education. Just wondering if you have the ability to expand to some additional districts.
Yes, yes and no. So without taking a lot of the council's time here, I think maybe we can talk offline. I did put my email in the chat box, so hopefully that'll work. But anyhow, Meredith, when we first envisioned the paycheck project, we went to Jefferson Parish and we asked them if they would identify some of their staff who are involved in secondary transition for students with, disabilities. And they said, sure. And so we went through the process of teaching those folks the same things we teach that Sue Killam and Laura Stasio do in their supported employment training. Eventually, like in the spring, summer at the latest, we hope to be doing similar type trainings with customized employment. So, we don't see our job as meeting the service needs of the state. If you look at our little website, logo kind of thing, it's our mission is to build capacity and to inspire change. Sometimes you have to do something and demonstrate it in order to either build the capacity or to inspire the change. What we desperately need is for the Department of Ed and or individual school districts to reconceptualize what teachers do and where they do it. We don't want to be a support employment agency. In fact, in order to do the work we're doing, we had to become a vendor because there wasn't another way to get staff or to pay our staff to do this work. So what would work and what we are dying to do is find a school district that's willing to convert 3 or 4 teacher positions, or 1 or 2 teacher positions and 1 or 2 paraprofessional positions. We could train them, we can support them, we can be on site from time to time. Unfortunately, most of our staff live in Greater New Orleans. So if we go to Shreveport, it's a long commute, So we need to have those boots on the ground, and we really want to hand these programs over, establish them, be available to problem solve in the future. So if you can help us figure out a district that wants to do something like that, boy, we're right on board. So, and please, let's talk offline, Meredith.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was thinking the same thing, Dr. Wilson. You said it's a model, we can help highlight that as a model so other school systems know this is how it can be done. Because sometimes I think our school systems, they want to do what's best, but help showing them or modeling for them the how. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Davis, your hand is raised. You're recognized. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know who was speaking. Was it Mr. Matthew Riviera?
Previous presenter was Dr. Phil.
Yes, talking about education and all that stuff.
That was Dr. Phil Wilson. He was
Oh,
the previous presenter.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Phil Wilson. My bad. My question is, I hear this term a lot during this meeting, but I've always been, I didn't want to sound like that guy who didn't know what he was. I didn't want to be the one to ask a question, but you know, you mentioned a paraprofessional, parateacher. What exactly is that?
Sure.
Is that like a substitute teacher?
Not quite. Logan, first off, I got to compliment you on your bow tie. It's really awesome. But
Thank
to answer
you.
your question, a paraprofessional in any sort of field, whether it's a paralegal who works for a lawyer, or you know, an OT assistant or an educator, paraprofessional is just somebody who doesn't have quite as much training and experience as somebody who maybe has gone through years and years of graduate school and worked longer in that profession, and so might have a deeper understanding. I hope that's sort of the best I can do in a short sentence or two. Does that work for you? Does that make you understand? What if you said it was an assistant teacher or an assistant OT or an assistant? Would that work?
That makes a lot more sense.
Okay, perfect.
And are you located in the Shreveport area?
No, we're in downtown New Orleans.
Oh, awesome. I just saw the anagram and or whatever, and I thought that was in Shreveport, but my bad.
No
Thank you
worries.
for answering my question, and I yield my time back to you, Chair.
What part of
Thank you for that. So
what
what
part
we'll do
of
is,
Louis?
give me 1 minute, Ms. Heimer. We have about 5 minutes ready to break for lunch. So I see your hand, Ms. Hayno. I'm gonna make you the last one. Do we have any questions or any comments in the chat?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, Ms. Heimer, you can go ahead with your question, and then we'll go to Ms. Hayno, and then we'll.
Yeah, wanted to ask Philip, what part of New Orleans is he in?
So Jill, I'm pretty sure you're from New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
So do you know where the new University Hospital is? In the VA?
Which hospital?
University Hospital?
I think,
LSU?
because right now I'm in Jefferson right now. That's why.
Basically, if you think about Canal Boulevard and Tulane Avenue.
Oh, Tulane,
and
yeah.
Claiborne.
Oh, yeah.
The street that runs underneath I-10 as it runs through downtown. We're in that general area.
Oh, okay. That's, you know, with the background, it's, you know, I wanted to ask.
Ms. Hayno, I see your hand. You're recognized by the chair. You have the floor.
Okay, Dr. Wilson, I don't wanna beat a dead horse, and if you already said this or done, just let me know. But do you have anything more from HDC in your quarterly report to add to our benefits training discussion from earlier? Because if I remember correctly, that is one of your initiatives.
That's right, Jill. So let me just say with great embarrassment that Tori was very discreet to remind me that actually the benefits planning or the CWIC kind of grant project moved to Lighthouse from Disability Rights. Now, HDC, we have had a benefits planning grant since 2000. So with one exception where we worked with LRS to maintain it for a year, and then it got reauthorized the following year. But let me just say that one thing that might be relevant that is in the report, and people who maybe used to, you would have been receiving services from Disability Rights Louisiana, and now you're going to be receiving, that people in these communities will be receiving services from Lighthouse in the future. They there, like Mitch had said earlier, it's a very intensive training. It takes almost 6 months to complete because you do training, then you get an actual case to work. Then that has to be graded. If you didn't get everything right, you have to correct everything. So it's a iterative, ongoing, repeating cycle until a person can do everything that the Social Security Administration and Virginia Commonwealth University expect you to be able to do. Okay, so my understanding is that we have been working some of the cases on a volunteer basis when we cleared our own to try to keep that backlog to whatever minimum we can. But I would expect if you live in one of the parishes or counties, because we actually serve part of Texas as well, they have counties over there, believe it or not. So if you are in one of those counties or parishes that Lighthouse is going to serve, you should be getting services from that agency fairly soon. So we can only serve people in designated parishes or counties that the Social Security Administration has said, okay, you serve everybody in this area. Hope that helps. And you can see there's a sentence or two in there in the report about Lighthouse becoming the new provider.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
It is 12 o'clock. How are we going to do lunch?
I'm about to do a final assessment to see if we have any more questions from any council members. I'll check the chat and then we'll move to recess for lunch for an hour. And with that being said, do we have any more questions or comments in regard to the report that has been presented by Dr. Wilson?
I don't see any hands or any comments in the chat.
Okay. Comments in the chat. Okay, this report requires no action, so it'll be placed on file. If there's no objection, this meeting will recess until 1 o'clock for lunch. We will reconvene at 1 o'clock. So we'll move to recess for lunch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.